Ladies and gents, welcome back. Hey. Oh man, I've been looking forward to this. I look forward to these Friday live streams every week now. It's crazy. It creeps up faster and faster every single week. But I'm glad to be here. Bring the chat in. Come on over, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Yeah, 9:32. I know. I'm always a few minutes late for my own party, of course. Always, but thank you for waiting around. Thank you for waiting for me to come out. Hey, Clyde in the Winnipeg? Is that what you mean by that? Oh, welcome everybody. Welcome everyone. Love to see this. Everybody filing in rather quickly. It happens. I try to set it ahead of time, but YouTube's notifications are really weird. Let me know in the chat. Did you get the notifications like right away? Because I posted, I think about half an hour ago, that to set up the stream, made it good. What do we got here? Theo the meme. Am I reading that correctly? Theo Therm 11 with who's member for 9 months. Thank you so much for that. Make Canada great again. We want that. Justine lies. Justine lies. Of course. We all want Canada to be great again. And this is the interesting thing about that concept is, in the States, when people said, make America great again, they figured out this clever little way of saying, like, when was America ever great for black people, or when was America ever great for the gays, or whatever you want to say. Like, come on, that's not what people are referring to. They're referring to, like, not that long ago, like maybe the 80s even. But here in Canada, it's make Canada great again, because it was great only 8 years ago. It was great. Linda Hunter, member for 12 months. Wow, thank you for that. Hello bloody hell, it's our birthday. What? It's your birthday? It's not my birthday. Our birthday. It's somebody's birthday. Happy birthday, Linda. Trish Prue gifting 5 memberships to the channel. Thank you, Trish. That's amazing. Oh, holy cow. Wow, thank you so much. Everybody get in the chat and thank Trish Prue for whoever got memberships on that one. I see a few people there on the list. Yeah, thank you so much, Trish. That's amazing. Yeah, so thank you for the member. There you go. I love seeing that. But this whole concept of Canada wasn't that great back then for some certain groups. It's again with the division stuff. No. Let's bring back Canada to its former glory of only 8 years ago. The place that everybody wanted to come to, en masse, and we're getting turned away at the door because we weren't crazy and letting every single person that wanted to come to the country come. We had normal immigration, like, again with this whole concept of immigration being the anyone who's against the current immigration policy is a terrible bad guy. Hi, Robert McFallon with a $5 super chat. Hi, Clyde from the People's Republic of Vancouver Island. Yeah, it is a thing. You got to take a commie boat to get there. I just can't get over the fact that I can't get over how BC Ferries is run. I call it the commie boat for a reason. I mean, it's run by the government. They do a terrible job. And like, by all means, if you work for BC Ferries or something like that, I'm not saying you do a terrible job. The management is terrible. The way it's managed is awful. If you're a mechanic or someone who works in the boat or at one of the piers, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about how the system's run. I'm sure you do a fantastic job if it was privately owned and you did the same job that you're doing now. That's the thing. But yeah, the commie boat to Vancouver Island is, wow, is it ever expensive? And I love how they spend millions and millions every year to advertise, even like GM Place and all these other places. Advertise what? If you want to go to Vancouver Island, you use the commie boat. The slogan should be, because there's no other choice. I mean, it really should just be that. Penny D with a $3 super chat. Interesting. I've never seen a $3 super chat before. Oddly specific number. Thank you so much. That's amazing. That's a very first for me. I've never seen one of those. I got notifications on time, Clyde. When you say time, when you say on time, are you referring to like on time, right at 6:30, or are you talking? Did you get it early, like when I first put it out there? Because I'm curious about this. I do try to set it up so people will get the notification ahead of time, so they know when to join the stream. But YouTube's kind of, you know, on the in and outs on that one. So I love to get the 30 minutes ahead. I got the notification. There you go. That's awesome. I love to see that. I love to see that. As long as people know when it's going to happen, and of course I try to make it the same time every week, because that makes sense. People will know when to go, and all of that good stuff. Now it's funny, I get talking and I start thinking of all these other things that I wanted to talk about that I hadn't even put in the queue of things to talk about. But let's get into some of this stuff. I saw earlier people were talking about the comments, and this is something that's come up many times before. No early notification. I got this one at 8:32. So 2 minutes late. That's probably because I hit the go live button 2 minutes late. Okay, so you got it right as I hit the go live button. Anyway, getting back to this, I see this thread a lot. People talk about the comments in the comment section, how they're being censored and the comments don't always show up. So yeah, this is a thing. Milady loves cats. Member for 1 month. Thank you so much. Hey Clyde, I'll be buying two ecological t-shirts tomorrow. Thanks for doing what you do. Thank you. I really love that slogan. It came up in the podcast, like in these live streams, the concept for that slogan. So I'm glad people love it. We're gonna come up with some more. I've been spitballing with some other people. Yeah, ecological. I mean, it just makes sense because people actually do care about the environment as much as you're being told, like, you must be getting paid by big oil. Like, are you kidding me? No, nobody's getting paid by big oil. We care about the environment. We just don't agree with the policies of environmental patients. Like, that's really what it is. Anyway, getting back to the comments, I want to just cover this really quick. Now, there's a feature on YouTube, and I can't do anything about it. I can't change it. Milady loves cats, gifting 5 memberships to the channel. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That's amazing. Everybody get in the chat and thank Milady. Milady loves cats. What an awesome name. Anyway, so the thing about the comments, some people think their comments are being deleted. Now, YouTube does this thing, and I have my comment section open as open can be. Absolutely open as open can be. But if you look here, and I'll show you, there are 2 sections on the YouTube on my end of things, like when you get into the studio side of things. And what you'll see here is published comments, but then you'll also see held for review. Now, held for review is usually because I think sometimes if you use all caps or something like that, sometimes it triggers YouTube's thing. Sometimes tons of emojis. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know what causes it, but there are key phrases or something that YouTube picks on, and it puts these comments in held for review. Now, I want to okay everything. I want to just okay it all, but it doesn't allow me to. So I have to like individually okay each individual one, and there's absolutely no way I can do this. I spent a lot of time working on this channel, and this is a full-time job, just okaying the held for review stuff. So if your comment doesn't pop up, and like you'll see it even in here, you'll see people say my comments are being censored. Yeah, here we go. John Walton says my comment was deleted twice now. They're taking free speech away. I see it. You know. Like, let me okay these ones. You know, I'll okay as many as I can. But the thing is, yeah, I'd have to go through every single one all the time, and it's just impossible, unfortunately. But that my only recommendation that I can give to people following the channel that you find this happening to your comments, just maybe comment the same thing but rephrase it, reword it, that kind of thing. Something's clearly catching the YouTube algorithm on the comments imposition, whatever that they do in that. So that's my only advice to that. If your comment doesn't show up, possibly just reword it. Hopefully that fixes it. But again, I want everyone to know I leave my comments completely open, so everybody can comment. You'll even see the bots in there. I mean, they're obvious, the bots, and what they do, but it's just the thing. It's just the thing. So somebody mentioning Celtic Canuck. Why? Something is Celtic Canuck in the room? I love Celtic Canuck's channel, by the way. Big shout out to Celtic Canuck. If anybody doesn't know who she is, check out her channel. Fantastic work. Absolutely. So I got nothing but good things to say about that. I wanted to share this one because this one is hilarious. I love just funny little things that pop up from here and there. I know there's a bunch of people in the audience now that are from Argentina, and it's largely because I was talking about the new president of Argentina. I'm a big fan of what he has to say. I'm a big fan of the things that he likes to put out there. Would you like me to post here what I posted that got deleted? That way you can see what was deleted. I believe it was because I called for justice on JT, JS, and CF. I don't know. I don't know if that's what caused it. But yeah, post it here, and I'll read it because the chat is moving, and we got this anyway. Millet, Javier Millet. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I always muck these up. But that being said, this is a famous moment when he first got elected. He first got elected, and he says, "Here's what the government looks like, and here's my plan. I'm gonna get rid of a lot of it."
Pizarra, Ministerio de Turismo y Deporte, afuera.
It's gone.
Ministerio de Cultura, afuera. Ministerio de Ambiente y Desarrollo Sostenible, afuera. Ministerio de las Mujeres y Género y Diversidad, afuera.
Afuera.
Ministerio de Obras Públicas, afuera.
Afuera.
Aunque te resistas. Vamos a seguir por acá. Ministerio de Ciencia y Tecnología e Innovación. Algo bien del sector privado. Nada bueno salió del sector público. ¡Afuera!
Afuera! So that was a famous scene that got put out there. Now, we've seen a lot in the Western world making fun of politicians and all this stuff. You know, parody. And man, the comedians have just lost their mind to the point where they're not really even funny anymore when they do parody. It's pretty bad. It can be pretty bad sometimes. But leave it to Japan to nail this one. And this is a Japanese comedy troupe that did their own rendition of Javier Millet.
Apora! Tentato!
これ
Apora!
え
LGBT
大統領
LGBT.
Apora!
来てくれたんだ。
Apora! Don't do it! No Apora!
これ日本語
Apora!
The one that he says no abuela to. That was the women's toilet. So I guess they'll be keeping the women's toilet in Japan. Or in Argentina for that matter. But this is amazing. I love it. This is how we should be doing comedy. And if you want to do parody, do it right.
Tirotaro! Apora!
Deadly. Love it. Love seeing that. Good comedy is always great to see. Good evening, Chat and Clyde. Just me, Nicole. Member for 2 months. Thank you so much. Robert McFallon with a $10 super chat. Trudeau government. Abuela. Get rid of him. Trudeau. Abuela. we need to see that happening here. Let's hope Pierre Poilievre gets into, because he's going to be the prime minister. Yeah, like it or not, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the next prime minister. Let's hope he comes in and does some good stuff. I'd like to see some abuela to some government bureaucracies that are destroying our country. Really, yeah. PP needs to do that. We really need to see that. And for all those people that say PP blah blah blah. Listen, he's going to be the next prime minister. You know, we all kind of got to come to grips with that and focus on who's going to be the other MPs that get elected. I've been pushing in my region, Marcus Wong. He's a great guy, and he's running for the position of the person who's going to run in the Conservative Party. He's running for the position in that party. So this is how we reshape our country again. We get great people, we put them in the position to run for office within the parties. For all those people that say it's a uniparty, blah blah blah. It's only a uniparty if you don't get involved. Please get involved. Do your thing, your civic duty, whatever. And not only that, like if your region only ever votes for NDP or only ever votes for Liberal, join that party and elect somebody in that party who's not going to be a wingbat, a wingnut, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, this is the way we do it. PP should grow big sideburns. Yes. Yeah, I mean, he already ditched the glasses, went for a new look there. We should get the have your melee look for Pierre Poilievre. His glasses, abuela. let it all hang. Just let it all hang. That's the way to do it. Now, other good news in Canada this week was, if you guys were paying attention, I had Eva Chipiuk and Jeff. I'm gonna forget his last name. Why? No, it was Jeff Rath. Holy cow. It's right on the screen there. Rath & Company launches. What a guy. Actually, I ended up talking with him and Eva for quite a long time. He's such an interesting fellow that I'm going to have him on the channel on the 23rd of February. So watch for that during the live stream. That one's going to be really good. What a guy. So I'm really looking forward to that. The news release, Eva Chipiuk put this up here. Rath & Company launches class action lawsuit against Alberta government for COVID-19 business restrictions. Rath & Company has launched a class action lawsuit against the province of Alberta on behalf of business owners in Alberta who faced operational restrictions due to the now deemed illegal public health orders. This lawsuit follows the recent Ingram decision by the Calgary Court of King's Bench, which declared that all of Dr. Hinshaw's public health orders were ultra vires, which means outside of the scope of the law. It was outside of their scope, outside of what they can do legally, so illegal. In other words, illegal, are not lawfully enacted. The Ingram decision has opened the door to affected business owners to seek damages for the financial losses occurred during the restrictions imposed by these unlawful public health orders. So if you run a business, you're in Alberta, you are eligible to be a part of this class action lawsuit. And I would encourage anybody who... There's no way you ran a business and were not affected by the COVID lockdowns. So get in there and sign up. Put in your, all your information. Get it in there, because this is really important, because this is the kind of thing that will set the stage for in the future. In the future, when the government tries to enact these emergency legislation things, they can look back and go, remember when we got sued for all of that because it wasn't actually legal when we did it? Yeah, these are the things that we need to really push forward on, always. And I was actually talking with them the other day, and I said, now is actually the time to do this in the lull period, because this is the time we fight back the hardest, because we need to thwart the next time that they try to do this. We all know what's happening with climate alarmism and the 15-minute city projects that we're seeing all over the place. We even see Nanaimo. Nanaimo has an art installment that says Nanaimo, and the O on the end is, you guessed it, the Schwabstica. It's the new DEI or World Economic Forum wreath that they have on there. It's nerve-wracking, and I know this one's a hard one for me because 15-minute cities are a hard one to argue against, because the argument sounds like this: why would I want things to be more convenient? You know, to people, a lot of people hear that argument in as such. It's not about that. It's about losing your rights. It's about losing your freedom of mobility. These are protected charter rights in Canada, and we need to really, really be fighting back. That's right. Fight back. Hello, Netherlands. Yeah, exactly. That's what they were doing in the Netherlands. This is what they're doing with farmers in Canada here. In British Columbia, we're seeing farmers' water rights be restricted, and arbitrarily, of course, and always at the most detrimental time in their growing season. This is of course what's happening, and they're not doing it for any trust the science. No, they're talking about rivers drying up, but the farmers have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars getting equipment to tap into aquifers that don't change anything about that. Mark, hey Clyde, where's Bonnie? Where is Bonnie? I've been looking for her. She's being sued here in British Columbia. Bonnie Henry. Yeah, where's she at? Where's she at? Because she's that's another lawsuit that's going through. And if that lawsuit, just like the Ingram decision, goes through, we'll be looking at more class action lawsuits here in British Columbia. I hope to see this happen across the provinces because this would be great. 15-minute city equals citizens open air prison. Yeah, absolutely. It really is just about creating dependence. Lol, Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, yeah. I actually had one of my videos. I titled it that because, I don't know, it's funny. It was one of the ones about her being sued. I think that one went over Clyde's head. No, it didn't. It didn't. I get the Clyde Barrow thing all the time. There's not a lot of famous Clydes. There's Clyde Barrow of Bonnie and Clyde. Absolutely, that's a thing. Anyway, moving on. I love that afuera thing. It just keeps popping up in my thing. I love looking at it. But this is good news. Yesterday, I don't know if anybody was noticing or was paying attention. If you were sleeping under a rock, maybe you would have missed it. But yeah, you guessed it. Tucker Carlson had Vladimir Putin on his show. He interviewed him in Russia. He flew over there to do that thing, and the media has been having a meltdown over it.
Former Fox News personality Tucker Carlson is in Moscow, and the Kremlin confirms he has just conducted an interview with Vladimir Putin.
Putin talks to an American friend. The Russian president turning to right-wing conspiracy theorist Tucker Carlson.
We're in Moscow tonight.
That's funny, turning to right-wing conspiracy theorists. Then why don't you interview him? It's really, this is craziness. It's crazy to hear what we're hearing. Milady loves cats with a $5 super chat. So businesses that enforced mandates could join this? Really? Technically, yes. Anyone who had lost money over all of this. So yeah, even them. Yeah, that's a thing. That is a thing. But the people with the most to lose are the ones who did not want to enforce the mandates. But some people, they were enforcing the mandates reluctantly, and it's the reality of the situation. Let's not beat our own drum too much. Like, there's a lot of people that are against it, but reluctantly, just went along with it. This is the danger of this being such a complacent society. And let's not kid ourselves. Canada is pretty complacent. It's a pretty complacent place. It's what happened. So yeah, those people will also be eligible to sue the government over that. And I hope this goes across all the provinces. But back to this. Yeah, why don't you interview him if you're worried about what Tucker Carlson might say in an interview?
Carlson just landed a big exclusive interview. Russia,
the one that nobody else wanted. This is the crazy thing.
Dictator Vladimir Putin, and he's getting slammed for it. Sleeping with the enemy goes this headline. And this, is Tucker Carlson a Putin pawn?
Tucker loves Russia. Russia loves Tucker.
Putin clearly wants to speak to an American right-wing audience, so he's using Tucker Carlson to get the message out.
What does that tell you about Tucker Carlson and right-wing media and also Vladimir Putin?
Well, it shows me what I think we've all known. He's what's called a useful idiot. I mean, if you actually read translations of what's being said on Russian media, they make fun of him.
And this is the same lady that called everybody a basket of deplorables that don't agree with her, famously saying that, costing her the election. I think that was one moment in time that you could almost feel the votes being pulled away from her when she said that thing. Yeah, love Tucker. Yeah, absolutely. I went and saw Tucker in Calgary, and I've got a guest on tonight that I met at that event. Of course, it's Twos. Twos will be coming in later in the show, of 222 Minutes, award-winning podcaster. So just hang tight and we'll have that. But yeah, Tucker Carlson is amazing.
And so while Putin sees no benefit in sitting down for an interview with a journalist, he does see benefit from a conversation with Carlson.
Actually, Tucker, you are not in journalism. A long time ago, sure, but these days...
Did he say you're not a journalism? What?
With a journalist. He does see benefit from a conversation with Carlson.
Actually, Tucker, you are not in journalism.
You're not in journalism. Oh my goodness, this reminds me of something. I gotta pop this up because that's just hilarious. Oh my goodness, you guys are gonna laugh so hard. Oh wow, he actually said those words.
That's being said on Russian.
He sees no benefit in sitting down for an interview with a journalist. He does see benefit from a conversation with Carlson.
Actually, Tucker, you are not in journalism.
I'm sorry, this kills me because this is WWF.
You're not even a real journalism. That's right.
That's right. You're not even a real journalism. That's right.
You're not even a real journalism. That's right.
I didn't even catch that earlier. Oh my goodness, this guy cracking me up.
For an interview with a journalist. He does see benefit from a conversation with Carlson.
Actually, Tucker, you are not in journalism. A long time ago, sure, but these...
Oh, it's always moments like this that just make these live streams so much better. Trish Prue with the super chat for $5. Oh, Clinton also said she wanted to reset Russia-US relations when she was Secretary of State. Yeah, what is her reset like? The Great Reset? Holy cow, holy cow. Milady Loves Cats with a $5 super chat, which is the laughing Sheba. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I gotta see that one more time because that's just too funny.
You're not even a real journalism. That's right.
That's right. That's oh, goodness.
Days, you've been in the propaganda business.
He is not a journalist. He is not someone that you need to take seriously. In fact, he's someone who there would be no reason to take him seriously.
This is the Young Turks talking. The Young Turks. This is a guy from the Young Turks saying that Tucker Carlson is not a journalist. He's propaganda. What are the Young Turks? Incidentally, funny, the name of the Young Turks, if you didn't know this, is a really bad name for an organization. It's a really awful name because the people that carried out the genocide of the Armenians, I think it was around the time of the Second World War, was a group called the Young Turks. They were called the Young Turks. It's like naming it. It's like having a German news, an American German news outlet, and calling it Hitler's Youth Like, it really is just like that. It's really crazy. It was really crazy. Embrace the meltdown. Yeah, absolutely.
Seriously, so he cannot be held liable for the things that he says. So to try to couch what he's doing right now as supposedly being about journalism is absolutely ridiculous.
But Tucker Carlson is going to...
Yes, they are Turkish. Yeah, chunky yogurt. He's Turkish, of course. That's why he called it the Young Turks. But it's really, really a bad name. It's really, I mean... genocide, you know, and he denied it. He was one of those deniers, you know, one of those people that deny type of Holocaust that occurred. Yeah, he was one of those. Unbelievable. And then the official position changed, and it's no longer denied. It was something that occurred. Trish Prue with the $2 super chat. I love me some giggly Clyde. It happens sometimes. It happens. Thank you. That's funny. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Anyway, this is a piece of Russian propaganda that's been circling on social media, and this one cracks me up because, well, have a look at it, because this one is actually amazing. So the premise is these Russians, they're flying on a plane to America, and they keep getting interrupted. Oh, they're moving there.
Америка самая свободная страна.
Freest country in the world. Land of opportunity.
Вы с мужем?
Are you with your husband?
Да, мы вместе.
Yeah,
Он сейчас подойдет. А вот и мой муж.
And there's my husband.
Знакомьтесь. Эмили.
Sorry, mister. Passengers behind you are vegetarians. They have discomfort because you eat meat. But we don't force them to eat meat. Sorry, but in the US it's customary to adhere to the principles of democracy. Let me take that from you. Here's the line to the toilet. Get in line like everybody else.
Простите, мистер,
Mister,
что случилось?
Да вот парень без очереди лезет тут.
This guy's jumping in
И что?
line.
Вы не хотите его пропустить?
So what?
Я?
Sure. You need to skip.
Его надо пропустить.
Get in front of him.
Подождем.
We will wait.
Его народ долгие годы терпел притеснение.
His people endured the oppression of white people for many years, he says.
Белых.
We all owe African Americans a debt.
В долгу. Простите нас, сэр.
I'll start bowing.
Прошу вас. Вы не могли бы пересесть в носовую часть самолета?
В смысле, я
You move to the other side of the plane. No. All three of you. Why? There's a couple behind you. They're child-free. The fact is that your son gets into their field of vision and it makes them uncomfortable. Forgive us, we're going back. So this is the sentiment from people in Russia. They're not jealous of the United States. They're looking at the United States and going, this is crazy. Why is this a thing? Why are people acting like this? And they're writing skits and they're ridiculing, just like we used to do to them when they were a communist state. And this is the reality of the situation. And it really is sad. It really is sad that we've come to this where the Russians are poking fun at us. Whoever thought that would be the case? They used to be our bad guys in movies in the 1980s, and they also used to be the butt of all the jokes that they don't get anything done right or quickly or whatever. But as it turns out, if you watch the interview with Tucker Carlson, it's a very eye-opening experience to listen to. And I'm not saying like buy into the propaganda or anything like that, but why in the heck are we not speaking with our enemies? Like if there are enemies, we should be trying to negotiate a deal to at least at least some sort of a ceasefire or whatnot. And this is exactly what was said here. Tucker Carlson wanted to ask about, basically, is it possible that we could ever see
when
a ceasefire or a negotiation for a ceasefire? And the reality is our side of things, the government has put, they said no. There's just no negotiation, zero negotiation. What the heck kind of thing are we're getting ourselves into? And this is why they don't want to talk to the leader of the enemy country. They don't want to see that they're being reasonable, and we're not being reasonable about this. People don't want war. We just don't want war. We don't want that to continue. But this is the reality of the situation. Light Giver with a $10 super chat. Clyde, a farmer from Ontario, moved his family to Russia a few months ago, and he's being treated with absolute kindness. I didn't know that. That's, to be honest, I don't see that as being an untrue thing. In fact, if you look on YouTube, there's some YouTube channels. There's one I follow as a young couple, and they live in Russia, and they just do vlogging and talk about their daily life. But one of the things that they found was very popular was going around and showing people what the price of stuff was in Russia, especially after the war. And you know what? They're doing a lot better than us economically, despite all of this stuff. And this came out in the interview as well. The fact that, you know, if they're doing this well with all of the sanctions, just imagine how well they would do if they weren't being sanctioned. At the end of the day, I don't want to see conflict. I'm not Ukrainian. I have no ties to Ukraine. I have no ties to Russia or any of this stuff. But I don't want to spend all our money on a conflict over on the other side of the world that we don't need to be doing, and we could see a lot less conflict. We should be trading with everybody. That's just my opinion. Tempest, member for 14 months. Putin laughing at Trudeau for inviting a funny mustache man to Parliament was hilarious. That's right. Now, again, I'll recommend this to everybody. Watch the video. How many views are on this now? Let's do a refresh just to see where it's at. 161.9 million views. Nobody's watching the other news outlets. Nobody's watching it. People want to see interesting conversations, and the interesting conversations are sometimes even with the people we're supposed to not like. Light Giver with another $5 super chat. Clyde, his YouTube site is called Countryside Acres. I'm going to look that up. I am going to look that up because it would be cool to have them on, actually. It would be really cool to interview them if that's what they've done. I'd like to check that out. So yes, I'll be watching that. Thanks for the tip on that. Getting drafted? What? Okay, yeah. There's a whole YouTube channel. I'm gonna get into that another time. Wow, that's really cool. Paul R with a $10 super chat. He didn't once blame Harper. Okay, yeah, that's good. That fair enough. Chippy's Outdoors with a $10 super chat. That was a good interview. It was a good interview. I watched it last night. I was riveted to it. Penny D with another $10 super chat. Wow, rapid fire succession here tonight, guys. Clyde, I don't care what anyone says. You are my favorite podcasterism. You're not even a real podcasterism. That's right. Wow, look out, guys. Utaka with the $5 super chat. Utaka too much. Oh man, looking forward to seeing you, by the way. Good to see you, Clyde, and chat. Get yourself a wobbly pop. Got mine right here. Thank you all so very much, and thank you, Utaka. Robert McFallon, $10 super chat. No way Canada should endorse this war. Young men and civilian victims are dying, and we should not be involved. I couldn't agree with you more. I see. This is my stance on these things. My stance is I'm a non-interventionist. I don't like to intervene I don't like this idea of nation building. I don't like this idea of enforcing, pushing your way of life onto others. Lead by example. If you're doing a great job, they'll want to be like you. They'll emulate you. And I think this is the way to go forward with that. Now, that doesn't mean I'm a pushover and some idiot when it comes to defense. I think if somebody attacks you, you should defend yourself with all of your might. You should have a great military service. And yeah, there are times when, you know, we need to aid in conflicts like we did in the Second World War and that in the First World War. And that's obviously a thing. This isn't a case of that. This isn't a case of this. This is a regional conflict that has been going on for a very long time. As you'll hear in this, there's hundreds of years of history, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of history to do with this. And it's a regional conflict, and it's none of our business at the end of the day. And yeah, I understand there's probably a lot of Ukrainians and a lot of Russians in Canada that care deeply about it. And that's fine. You can care deeply, but you can't conscript everybody else who's a taxpayer to pay for the thing that you care about. I absolutely believe that people should be able to donate to these things freely all they want. But that's on you, not our government. Chippy's Outdoors with a $10 super chat. Not rapid fire. That's illegal in Canada. It's only semi-auto, 1 year, 7 months, and 29 days. I'm not sure. I'm not getting the reference with the timing. Not rapid fire. That's illegal in Canada. It's only semi-automatic. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I get the firearms reference, but I'm gonna need more of an explainer on that one, my man. Sorry. Yeah. Ugh, I don't quite get what's being referred to there. Leave another chat, Chippies. Timing is membership. The timing is membership. Membership into what? Sorry. Sometimes I just miss the context. I wonder if Clyde and Moose on the loose should do a live stream, a live one time. Moose on the loose. I'll have to look that person up too. LOL, membership here. Oh, how long you've been a member? 1 year, 7 months, and 29 days. Okay, my bad. Sorry. See, this is right over my head with that one. Moose on the loose. I'll have to look that one up as well. I love featuring other content creators. Oh, I know this guy. I'm subscribed to him. Moose on the loose? Yeah, I'd love to chat with him. Yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely love to chat with him. I discovered his channel maybe about a month ago or something like that. Yeah, I like what he's doing. Absolutely. Moose is in your chat, bro. Oh no, shut up. Get out, really? Okay. I'll have to find that. Oh, there you are. Cheers, buddy. You've got a great show here. Thank you. Thank you. I like your show too. That's great. Yeah, everybody in the chat, if you don't know Moose on the Loose, go check out the channel. He's great. He's got good stuff. I'll leave the link right here. Let me pop it up on the screen so everybody can see before we move on here. Moose on the Loose. Go check out his channel. He does great commentary. He talks about all kinds of stuff. A lot of similar stuff to what I talk about on this channel. So yeah, it'd be great to do something. Moose on the Loose. He lives in Vancouver. Maybe I'll have to get you on a podcast where you actually come into studio here. I don't live that far from Vancouver. Maybe we can make that happen. That'd be awesome. That would be really cool. Wicked. Wicked. Okay. I love how these connections happen. This is really cool. Northern Perspective with a $5 super chat. Let's bring the chat back in here. Hi, Clyde. I love your show. I hope you're doing well. What do you think election this spring? Well, you just gave me the $5. We have a $5 bet on. Looks like I might lose. I don't know. We'll see. you can like super chats now? That's new. That's new. I'm seeing all these likes on the super chat. Wow. Okay. I like that. Yeah. We need to have a stream or a video to talk about that Northern Perspective. We should do that. Absolutely. Dixon Ciderbush. I love that name. You can't say those words, two words together too closely, or the transcript will get me in trouble. Came here for Clyde sub to Moose on the Loose. That's awesome. That's so cool. Oh, I love this. I love hearing that. I love hearing stuff like that. Super cool. All right. All right. So let's talk. Let's get on to the next thing. Oh yeah, everybody hit that like button. Hit that like button. It helps out with the algorithm. You know what happens with the algorithm? It goes, hey, there are so many people that like this live stream or this video. What should we do with that information? Well, what they do exactly is they find people that sort of fit in your same demographic. People who've been watching similar type content, but maybe don't know this content. And what they'll do is they'll say, hey, I should recommend that to these other people as well. It helps grow the channel. It's very effective and it costs nothing. So thank you so much, everybody, for hitting that like button. Robert McFallon with the $5 super chat. Moose is like you, but likely can't do an oil change. Well, we'll see about that. Maybe that's what we'll have to do together. Teach him how to change oil on an automobile. My mother can't get enough of your videos. She thinks you do an amazing job and she loves your laugh. Thank you, Mucho Taco. I love that name, by the way. Very popular on Tuesdays, I bet. Very popular. So that's the thing. That's the thing. Let's move on because I want to cover a lot of things before we get into this other stuff. I wanted to talk about that. I guess we're going to go over this briefly, but this was a thing that took place in Quebec, and I don't usually talk about Quebec. You know me. I'm not a Quebecer. No, I'm joking. I've got lots of friends in Quebec. This is the great place. Unfortunately, there's divisive politics that are in that province. I wish they could just get over that whole thing. But in Quebec, one other thing that they can't get over is stupidity. I mean, this one, Quebec temporarily bans wood fire appliances, citing poor climate. Oh, the poor climate can't handle people heating their homes with fires. So what did they do? They went above and beyond and they banned wood fires in Quebec City. This ban started Wednesday and includes appliances such as wood and coal stoves, wood-burning furnaces, as well as masonry and factory-built fireplaces. Factory-built fireplaces. No specified date was given to citizens as to when wood fire climate lockdown would be lifted. A number of affected residents have expressed frustration with the city's decision, with one calling it rubbish and others claiming that they're seriously considering moving. This is crazy. I feel there's a lot of frustration. People are unhappy, said business owner Selena Fontaine. Fontaine. I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm sure I am. But what happens because of this? Well, people do what Canadians do what Canadians do, and they light fires. They spark up the stoves and they go, yeah, there we go. Oh, having a fire. How about that? Suck it, government. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to come into my house and you're going to put my fire out that I'm heating my home with? Forget you. No way. I'm not paying carbon tax on all. I'm just going to light a log. And hopefully that would be good. Dixon Ciderbush, I did say it too quick. And you're all going to think, what? Gifting subs to the channel. Gifting, memberships. 10 memberships to the channel. Everybody get in the chat. Give Dixon a thank you in the chat for that. But here we are. People are just saying forget it, and it's all over Twitter. People going, yeah, look at my dog, he's having a good time next to the fire because you said I can't do it. Fires all over Twitter. I have to translate this post because I am not a franglais. In Quebec, there's an imbecile who bans wood stoves, so I turn mine on so as not to fall into I don't know what that is, not even a real journalism perhaps. But this is the thing. I have to again translate more of these posts. Message for the mayor of Quebec City: there will be action soon. Love it, love it. I just love the feel of sitting here right by the fireplace. Ooh, nice and toasty, nice and warm. This is what happens when you make stupid rules in this country. You're just encouraging more people to light fires. Idiots, absolute idiots. And I'll tell you what. Yeah, there's, you know, it can get sooty. It can get sooty having a fire coming out. Here's one thing that actually works very well. It's an invention that came out of British Columbia, Canada, and it's the catalyst wood stove. If you run a wood stove, consider switching to a catalyst wood stove. They're fantastic. The way it works is it's like having a catalytic converter right in your wood stove, right in there. And what it does is when you light your fire, it fires that thing up, and it has a catalyst reaction. There's a chemical change, a burn, an afterburn, if you will. And a tremendous amount of heat is produced by that reaction. And when that happens, it actually comes out cleaner on the other side. So rather than banning fires, why don't they just encourage people to get catalyst stoves? This is why governments are, I almost said the R word. Not allowed to say that on this platform anymore. Yes, they're dumb. They're extremely dumb. I don't even know where to go with that. Now I want to get into this story here, but I have a guest. But I'm gonna play this video because this video is fantastic. This is from the lovely Carla, who I got to meet at the Tucker show in Calgary, and that was fantastic. But she got pretty popular for the one I'm a Canadian thing that she did on, I believe it was on Instagram, and all the platforms started picking it up. But this one is I'm far right. So what exactly is far right?
In the locker room with 13-year-old girls.
There we go.
Hey,
the music's gone.
I'm a far-right extremist.
Get a copyright strike.
I don't believe that the government should have total control over all of our educational institutions, healthcare, and news media. Oh, hey. I'm a far-right extremist because I read a lot of history books, and I know that socialism and communism has failed every single time in history,
single time,
resulting in mass starvation and death.
Yes, every single time. Now, this is this thing. Far-right extremist. You keep hearing this all over the place. And why am I wrong thing? Here we go. National Post published this article. I really like this article. In fact, I'm gonna leave a link in the chat here, so everybody cue this up some other time. You can read the entirety of this. This is great. If there are really 300 neo clinkety clank funny mustache crew people out there in Canada, why can't anyone name any of them? So this journalist, Jonathan Kay, thought, hey, wouldn't this be a great idea to actually go out and investigate these claims of there being all these bad guys everywhere? And it turns out it's a bunch of crap. I mean, it's not hard to figure that out. It is actually a bunch of crap. And he brought it down to, because this is a number, 300 groups. You keep hearing about this from Jagmeet Singh and other politicians that cite this number. Well, it turns out it came from some individual in academia, and when they were asked to actually Perry, anyway, the person who named all of this called people right wing even in their own justification for calling people right-wing extremism. They actually characterized them in such a broad way that it actually includes anyone who's part of the mainstream Conservative Party of Canada. So that's what they consider right-wing extremism on the academic level. But I wanted to show you guys that because that's hilarious. We're going to get into some of this parental rights stuff. But I want to introduce my guest because my guest, I met him when I was out in Calgary the last time. It was a great showing at the Tucker Carlson event and at the event afterwards. And had a lot of fun, and I love meeting other content creators, other people that are out in the world of building, podcasts and different ways of communicating with people. And of course, if you haven't yet, go check out the 222 Minutes podcast. Go give them a follow over on Twitter. And without further ado, tonight is Twos. Welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely,
I'm really
absolutely.
zoomed in quite far. This is not quite what I was expecting, because I had a much larger box in the waiting room. This is fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. We got to share the screen, my man. So just pushing over a little bit.
I would be a tiny little pixel in the corner, I guess, if we shared the screen and it showed the entire apparatus.
So
how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. And I'm glad to finally have you on the show. Because
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And it was great to meet you in person. It's not every day you get to, especially when you're a content creator and you meet all these people online. You just get a virtual knowledge of who anybody is.
Well, it's funny. You kind of just sort of know them and you recognize them, sort of thing. And then it was really neat to put so many faces to so many names at that Tucker Carlson thing, like Carla that you just had on. Absolute sweetheart. Although, I mean, she was playing Fleetwood Mac and had a Janis Joplin shirt on. I feel like you kind of got to lose 1 star for that, but everything else was great.
Yeah, well, you can't win everything. Or maybe that's the allure to, like, it's kind of like shoving something under the what's the camel under the tent? Camel's nose under the tent, getting your way in there. The lefties might see it and go, "Oh, who's this lovely lady with the Janis Joplin?" And
oh yeah, you just sort of, and then they're all of a sudden like, she is saying a lot of far right extremist things. This makes me uncomfortable.
or they're like, "Oh my goodness, the propaganda worked. I'm an extremist now. I'm far right because I think that parents should have a right and a say, and
because I pay taxes."
Essentially,
which is funny because we're the only ones who don't want to.
Well, that's really I never actually put it in that perspective before, where the ones who actually do pay the taxes are the only ones who say they don't want to.
Yeah, because everybody else is like, "Oh, my taxes go towards this and that, whatever else." Yeah, your GST, I guess.
Yeah, but like all the well, there's not a lot of baristas that are really paying a high income tax or any at all. I think
no, and they definitely aren't well versed in economics and espouse these ridiculous assertions like parents should know what's happening with their children.
How dare they, right? Those parents, those awful parents. Why?
Just always putting their nose into things.
It really comes down to that. Now, I
mean, in this day and age, there's people who don't even want parents to name their kids. Right? They should be able to decide their gender, and then choose their name. So, I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, that's their starting point. And so for us to say, well, yeah, they should also probably know what's going on when they're going through puberty and, kind of trying to figure out their place in the world. Well, I mean, that's that's 100 miles past where they wanted to draw the line originally. No wonder they're so upset about everything.
How does that work logistically, though? I get they have these ideas, but
It doesn't.
Do they think them out? Like, is this thought through?
No.
Like, oh
No, they don't.
our kids gender neutral until they decide. Well, what's your kid's name? Well, what do you do if your kid doesn't have a name? How do you summon them?
I mean, you could just be like our dads and be like, "Hey, get over here, you little bastard."
Well, that's the thing.
Oh, can I say bastard on here?
I think you can.
Okay, can you just give me a list of words that I'm not allowed to say real quick?
Well, that's right. So you don't frequent the YouTubes. You have your own podcast, which is, you put on all the podcast outlets that are available. So Spotify or iTunes or any of that stuff, you can go view your podcast. But it seems like they have a little bit more of a lax set of rules of what you're allowed to say. I have to walk on eggshells. I have to walk on eggshells because I'm on YouTube.
All right,
and
I will do my level best to keep it on the level.
On the level.
I'll level.
Yeah, I think the only things you're not allowed to do is.
And we'll take it to another level.
Yeah, well, you're not supposed to use copywritten works. You're not allowed to use copywritten, and it's usually music. That's the thing. And then you can't say anything about the jab. That's a big no-no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I got in trouble for that once, and now I've been walking on eggshells ever since. You got to be careful what you say about it. And in fact, I was just reporting on news that came out. It was like a court decision to. You know what? I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay. Well, I mean, this thing that we're not talking about, a new article just came out in CTV last week, said that there's a new version that's 54%. It works 54% of the time.
Wow.
Which is a market improvement. And I was saying last week on the podcast with Sean, our weekly mashup where we cross over between our two shows, I had said that, when they get the technology good enough that they can cross that 60% hump, it might finally be time for me to pull the pin on that. Move forward with it.
I've always wondered what's in the heads of people who are so fervent about like making sure that in British.
I'm sorry. So what?
Fervent.
Oh, I thought you said a fervent, and I'm like, I don't know that one.
Oh yeah. No. They're like driven. They're driven on this principle because in British Columbia right now, we still don't have our nurses back to work. Anyone who refused to get the jab, they're still out of work in British Columbia. That's the thing.
And actually, to CTV's credit, they just had this article which didn't make a lick of sense, saying that might be contributing to the nursing shortage, which, as we all know, is just far-right extremism.
Oh my goodness, I don't think anyone's thought of that.
It's crazy.
How did they draw that conclusion? Wow.
And then next thing you know, they're going to start saying it came from some sort of a laboratory.
Oh. I just heard you crack one. Cheers, Wobbly Pops.
Perfect. I was
Friday
like, I don't know if I can do that on here.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good.
And it's some
good.
BC beer as well.
Lucky Lager. Yeah, yeah. That's for the loggers. I know a lot of loggers that drink that stuff.
That makes them cannibals.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Loggers
drinking lager. That's it. Yeah, Lucky. I think that's an island brew. That's a lot of the boys from the island.
If I'm not mistaken, it's somewhere on the island.
That's all those guys on the island. Yeah.
I'd pick up the can and read it, but then I'd spill a bunch of it. So we'll save that for later.
So out here in British Columbia, that's like I live in a town it's all based on logging, and you live in Alberta, so it's oil. So
yeah, my town is a lot of logging, but of much smaller plants that you turn into oils and margarines and whatnot.
Oh, farming, okay.
Yes.
Actually, that's such a funny thing because Marty and I were talking about this the other day. I don't know if you know Marty. We met.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's actually about a half hour away from me.
Okay, yeah, because we were talking about tree harvesting, And there's tree, like pulp farms is a big thing. And, you know, it takes about 50, 60 years to grow the trees to harvest them. But in the meantime, you get people that they'll like buy a piece of property and then they'll like move in next to these farmed trees that are scheduled to be cut down, and then they make a big deal out of it. But this is my neighborhood. This is my, you know, like it's like moving next to a farm and then when
the fine print.
Yeah, but it's like moving next to a farm and going like, look at all this beautiful wheat, and then when they go to harvest it, you're like, no, don't cut the wheat.
That's Bessie.
That's my view. What are you doing? It really is that.
Well, it's funny. I used to live in Calgary, and there's this area right next to Canada Olympic Park or Calgary Olympic, I don't know, COP, whichever one it is. And so there's this whole kind of area behind it that has been used by hikers for decades. It's just kind of a nice sort of easy place that's within the city that you can actually get a little bit of exercise going up and down the hill and in a bunch of trees and whatnot. And it was purchased by land developers in the 80s. And as of about maybe 2 years ago, construction started on it, and now it's a whole bunch of apartments and strip malls kind of things and whatever else. And everybody was all upset about it because they're like, this is our place that we love to go hiking and take our dog for walks and whatnot. And now all of a sudden you guys sold it to developers? No, person, he said carefully. It was sold to developers 40 years ago. If you had something to say about it, you should have said it then. And if anything, you should be thanking them for giving you 40 years of usage of this land that they owned.
Yeah, that's actually, I hadn't even considered that. I'm just so sick of people, and you get this with like yuppies or whatever.
Oh yeah, there's probably a few of them in your neck of the woods, eh?
Yeah, a couple of them. I call them hippie crits because they're not quite hippies,
I like that.
but they're hypocrites.
Yeah.
You know, but what they'll do is they'll move right next door because all the facilities will be there, right? They'll move right next door to some industry. It's like, oh my goodness, wow, this is great. There's roads and there's utilities, there's running water and all this fantastic stuff. I'm gonna plot my house right here. And then they wake up in the morning to the asphalt plant roaring, right? And they're like, that's gotta go. Like, no. Look, you gotta go.
That's how everything that you enjoy got there.
Yeah.
Well, like even when people in Vancouver and Victoria and even, say places like, places on the island. Anyway, we'll go with that. Get upset.
I forget the name of it too because of the commie boat.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of a specific town, and Nanaimo. They've got really good bars. And so anyway, people get upset that there's people in BC felling all these old growth trees.
Yeah.
Like, mofo. What do you think got chopped down on that lot that your house was built on?
Yep.
None of them ever seem to put it together.
I love it because I live in a little town. It's a logging town. Like, it's actually a logging town. It's right on the ocean, right at the foothills of the mountains. And the reason why it's situated where it is there's this inlet that's, there's no oceanic waves. It's an inlet on the ocean. So it's a perfect place to cut down trees and stick them in the water because it's a great, you can get them out of here really easily. Now, the place has been logged over a ton of times. And you get these people moving into the area and they go walk in the forest near town and they're like, look at this majestic forest. It's so fantastic. Look at these old trees. It's like it's been like this forever. It would be shameful if anybody ever cut one of these down. You're like, lady, those trees are 30 years old. and you won't find anything older than 80 years in this whole region. It's all been logged over like 3 to 10 times.
Successive crops.
Yeah, it's a renewable resource. But they end up, they're the ones who end up pushing the logging further and further out. It becomes more and more dangerous. And then you get trucks tipping over and spilling fuel and oil and all this stuff. And they're like, it's an environmental disaster. Well, you shouldn't have kicked them out of town. They're doing it safely right here.
They were in the nice flat area before.
It was easy, yeah, and it was just right into the water.
Simple logistics.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I got a super chat from I'm Not Your Buddy Guy for $5. He says, if you can't talk about something, take us on over to a site that starts with R and ends with umble. Just a thought. It's helped Viva Fry. Well, maybe some people like Rumble.
That's reallyhumble.com, I think is what he means.
Reallyhumble.com. I'm gonna open that now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy that domain. Just
dude, every domain is taken at this point. I remember I used to work for this international company, and somebody in Mexico always used to send out notices whenever their office was going to be closed for holidays. And Mexicans love to celebrate. And so it was like every goddamn week, it was this email from this lady letting us know that the base and division that none of us ever talked to or know anything about, other than just roughly what country it is going to be closed on Thursday for L blah, 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 to blah, blah, blah. And her name was Candy Jesus. I was like, that would be the best domain name ever.
Right.
Already taken
immediately.
Yeah.
Now they've opened it up. So like if you go to a domain website where you can purchase domains, because I own ClydeDoSomething.com and ClydeDoSomething.ca. I haven't put anything on the websites. I haven't put a website up, but I just got them. I just got them because I'm like, if one day I'm gonna want to make a website, and then somebody will have like sniped it, and they're gonna want $30,000 or something like that. These things happen, right?
Or it'll be Marty, and it'll just be some embarrassing pictures of you or something. Hey, you know what? We should get MartyUpNorth.com.
We should buy that. We should buy that, and he'll be forced to get the .org or whatever.
.de or something.
.d isn't that Denmark?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, he'll be relegated to some obscure European nation.
I think some of them. I think if you get a .org, you have to be an organization, like some sort of organization.
Define organization.
That's a great question, actually. But if you get a .gov, it has to be a government. You have to be a government agency.
Yes.
Who's the worldwide arbiter of this, though?
So I don't think there's a specific arbiter. It's just if something hasn't been taken, you can do it, and then you typically do it through something like GoDaddy.
No, but like, who polices? Could I get ClydeDoSomething.gov?
Okay. I see.
I think I'm not allowed to do that.
I'm guessing it's just kind of a courtesy thing.
Is it? Like they just won't sell it to anyone who's
I'm guessing. I don't know if there's anything illegal about having .gov.com or .gov.ca.
I got to try that.
I just think that they probably wouldn't let you do it.
Yeah, because like who polices that though? It's the World Wide Web. Is it like?
Although you know what, it would totally open up your opportunities for funding and whatnot.
Well, I could just tax
be like,
people.
well, yeah, I'm this is the Do Something Foundation, and
yeah,
we actually unlike other corporate entity, unlike other government entities,
or
we actually do something.
We actually do something. I'll do it like the Trudeau Foundation, where I can just launder money and rig elections.
You can get China to pay for a statue of your dad.
Yeah,
that would be a great thing to bring home at Easter, eh?
Yeah. Oh, imagine your neighbors. You got a statue of you like doing a pose, right? Like,
yeah,
that's the equivalent. It's like the outdoor equivalent, like the yard equivalent of having a fireplace mantle photo, like painting of yourself, right?
But not like a regular ass mantle painting. This is like the yard equivalent of having some giant Buckingham Palace portrait.
Yeah.
Like it's Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna just have it as a scarecrow in the garden? You know what I mean? Like, if I had a bronze statue of myself, I wouldn't even know what to do with it. I would probably dress it up with Freedom Convoy stuff.
Would you put it on a giant pedestal though, or would you have like
you have it on ground level or on a pedestal?
Ground level and your actual height, so you just like walking up to it like eye to eye with this like bronze of yourself. What's creepier?
I don't know if I do that because what's that?
What's creepier?
The pedestal probably, but I would if it was at ground level, I'd walk up to it and be like, "Huh, I thought he'd be taller."
I don't know. I think the ground level one would be creepy. It's kind of like the Ronald McDonald that's outside on the bench outside of McDonald's. Have you ever seen those?
Oh yes.
Where you can actually sit down next to Ronald McDonald, the statue.
Yeah, he's always sitting there super cash. He's got one leg up on his knee, and yeah, I know exactly what you're thinking. That might be a fun one to have. I don't know what if you were going to do a bronze statue of yourself. What pose would you want?
What pose? Like, are you go all out and do like the puff chest and hands on the
kind of soup. Would you want a bronze cape flapping behind you too?
Or would you do like you're pointing in the distance? You know,
you could do that. I mean, you could do a Heisman. You could do, the Schwarzenegger. You could
the Hogan.
Oh, there's. I don't think we're gonna beat that. We could just put a pin in this discussion.
Put a pin in that one. Okay, so I wanted to talk about. I guess we're gonna move on now.
Oh, really?
So no, I wanted to bring this up.
Funny, I had no idea what we were going to talk about, but I hadn't planned on this.
I didn't. No, it just kind of devolved into that. That's really where it went. But let's bring it back because well, if you look at the title of the show today, it's all about parental rights, and I haven't yet got into that in so far in the stream. So I guess we're going to talk about this together. Do you have any kids yourself?
Yes.
How many kids you got?
Yes. 3.
Okay, you got 3 kids, young, in school, kind of grown up. Where are you at?
Bit of a mix. Younger one's stepson is a little older.
Oh, okay. So obviously you've got skin in the game when it comes to this stuff, and
yes,
there's all kinds of stuff going on. Recently in your province, you've got a premier that's got her head screwed on right and is putting things forward, helping out parents and their rights. Now, of course, Ottawa is having a freak out about this and saying all kinds of things.
Because they hate us. They really do. Like, it's just nothing in this is anything. I would say, if anything, it's giving them more benefit than they would perhaps deserve, and more benefit than we would have wanted to give them in hindsight 10 or 15 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here we are where it's just this absolute travesty. But yeah, she's banned puberty blockers for kids underneath certain ages. And then there's, I think, 16 to 17, they can do it with consent of their parents, the doctor, and a psychiatrist. And then you've got no more trans guys competing in sports against women.
I think that's completely fair.
It's hardly controversial.
No, it isn't. It's only controversial to people with really crazy views. And I find that even the most, like, even lefties that aren't crazy, that haven't lost their brain, that you know, probably
that's a small subset.
but there are people that might disagree with you and I on a lot of things, but then when it comes to the sports thing, they're like, yeah, no no dudes in women's sports, thanks. Like that one's really a no-brainer. And I'm not even I'm not a sports guy. Like, I don't follow sports.
No?
Not really. I mean, I do like MMA and stuff like that. So I'll watch fighting. I'm not super focused on it.
That's a perfect example. About 3 years ago, probably, there was that trans guy who punched that woman's eye socket out.
Yeah, didn't she
broke her orbital?
Yeah.
Or yeah. Yeah, I mean, when has that ever happened where some guy with literal pads on his hands has punched another guy so hard that he breaks his skull?
Oh, that happens.
It doesn't really happen.
Oh no, it does happen.
So, in actual matches, though?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does happen. It happens more in like bare fist fighting. Like that's really bad. But you also have,
I could see that.
Broken fists a lot in those fights too. But yeah, it's an occurrence and it does happen. Yeah, it's more rare, but what it really is there in that case is the disparity. I mean, women don't have the bone density that men have. It's just it's not
no, they don't have the muscle mass. Generally, they're not as tall. I mean, in a very early episode of my podcast, I talked about this time that I accidentally signed up for a woman's skills camp for basketball. And I didn't know until I got there.
Why? So what did you think you were signing up for?
And so, but the thing about it, well, I don't know if it was just not mentioned or I missed the part where it was for women's basketball. And I'm not even a basketball person. I was just bored that weekend and it was there and it was free. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go do that. And so I show up, and the problem was that I got there quite early, because if I'd have got there late, I'd have been like, oh, I'm the only dude here. And then just quietly turned around and left. But I showed up and I'm already shooting hoops and getting warmed up. And then as everybody else starts filling in, I realize I'm like, oh shit. It's like when you walk into a bathroom and you're wondering where the urinals are, and it takes you a second, right?
Yeah.
And so
yes.
And so anyway, this was it was being ran by some women who were playing for the U of S Huskies basketball team.
Okay.
And like I said, even though it wasn't even really my sport, I realized throughout the course of this day that if I'd have, applied myself for a few months or something like that, I could have got to a point where I could have had a spot on their team. Even though it wasn't even my sport, and I'm not terribly tall by any means, right? But, when you're looking at just there's so many advantages that guys have over girls in a lot of sports. The top 52 or 53 chess players in the world are all men. And so transgender men are not allowed to compete.
Because that's weird.
Luck, obviously.
Yeah. Just put a smudge on my glasses. Wow. Okay, you got me off guard with that one. Incidentally, Penny D with a $5 super chat says Clyde statue is bending over laughing. That sounds more fitting for the bronze. But see, you opened up a can of worms there with the chess. I always thought chess was one of those ones where you might see more women in that sport. You might call it a sport, but because
I'm not sure.
It's all about the brain. It's just your brain.
It is. And you talk to any guy who's, not just trying to have a laugh on YouTube, and he'll tell you that the smartest person he knows is probably a woman.
Well, that's because he wants to get laid,
and so,
right?
Well, there's that too, right? There's the off chance that she's going to hear him say that.
Yeah.
And she'll be,
or he's just looking to avoid an argument,
but not smart enough to see through it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, incidentally, about the basketball thing, when I was in grade school, I was on the basketball team. Yeah, this guy on a basketball team, and no joke, we were the worst in the city. We were the very worst. We went to our tournaments and we came dead last. We sucked. But the girls team at my grade school was the best in the city. They actually won the finals. And because
good for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely good for them. But because of that, they gloated and they were like, haha, we're way better than you. And it was all, this stuff.
So the people who couldn't dunk were dunking on you.
We couldn't dunk. We were grade schoolers.
Okay, but also the WNBA, for example, right?
Yeah, they were dunking on us. So they were dunking on us. And so because of that, we were like, okay, then we'll challenge you to a game. And they're like, yeah, we'll make this happen. So we actually got the coach for the basketball team to organize a game of the boys against the girls, the worst in the city boys against the best in the city girls, and we murdered them. We murdered them.
Yeah,
it was disgusting how bad we destroyed them.
Well, Megan Rapinoe, the soccer player from the States, who I think recently retired. So the U.S. women's soccer team, world champions a couple times or something like that. They were playing just a U15 boys team from some backwater place in Texas and got mopped.
It doesn't surprise me at all. It really doesn't. It doesn't at all.
So yeah, anyways, it's not unreasonable. It's not as though you're taking things away from anybody. And I never really understood this because I don't know, anybody who's played a lot of sports or done a lot of competitions of whatever nature, they're probably going to tell you that when you're pitted against somebody else or another team, you want to be challenged. You want something to be difficult because it's not fun if it isn't. You're not pushing yourself if it's not. You want to put yourself against the best people that you think you might possibly beat. And that's not what they're doing at all. When you're lapping the girl in second place, and even with the added wind resistance of a penis and testicles, you're still that much faster than them.
Yeah.
I mean,
what a drag, hey? What a drag having those things.
Well, yeah, it can't be fun. It can't be interesting. There's no way that's engaging.
No,
you can't tell me that you feel a sense of accomplishment from that.
It's the equivalent of like beating a game with the Game Genie. Like, remember the Nintendo Game Genie?
Yeah.
And it would just take all the fun out of the game. You're like, okay, I won. I'm going to go tell my friends that I won.
There were so many games. Yeah. Well, there were so many games where you'd play them, like, especially the early console games that were just practically unbeatable.
Yes.
But then you'd go through and you'd find the right Game Genie code, and then you just sort of just sit back and you just walk through because you're invincible.
That's being a trans athlete.
Yeah.
It's the Konami code.
They should just call it the Game Genie League.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Right.
So that was an alternative, right? So that was an alternative to trans athletes in women's sports, was to have a trans league. So all trans athletes
or some co-ed leagues.
Well, essentially it would be a co-ed league, the trans league.
Yes, but officially named a co-ed league.
Okay, for political correctness or whatever. But yeah, so that's what they would get, and nobody wanted that. So it kind of tells you where the motivation is right there.
Yes and no. One of the problems that the NDP is having in Alberta, aside from no grasp of economics, being funded entirely by unions, and being staffed entirely by cretins. Can I say cretins? I hope I can say cretins.
So. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's
well, I feel like the people who would
pretty old one.
I feel like the people who would censor it probably don't know what it means.
Probably.
So anyway, aside from that, they've also got this
next. Like, I'm just thinking, old insults.
Just scallywags.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, the NDP, they're having a hard time.
So anyways, this riffraff also has a hard time coming up with new ideas. And Danielle Smith and the UCP, I'd say as a whole, have done a fairly good job lately of presenting common sense ideas. And the NDP has just been knee-jerk. Whatever they say, we have the opposite stance. I don't know if you remember way back in the day when Thomas Mulcair was getting ready to leave politics, roughly that timeline. He said that the entire time that he was in Parliament with Stephen Harper, he never voted yes to a single Conservative bill, which is crazy because, like, there's got to be something like in all that time, you can't tell me that every single bill went against your beliefs, went against what you thought was best for Canada. You were just doing it to be contrarian. And that's what the NDP is doing in Alberta now. And so whether it makes sense or not, if UCP says this is one way, they automatically say it's another. Like the Alberta pension plan would be an absolute boon for people in Alberta, very much to the detriment of everybody else, especially people in the Maritimes. But they can't admit that because that would be giving the UCP credit that they don't want to. And I mean, like even the NDP, to their credit, when they were in charge between 2015 and 2019 in Alberta, it wasn't an absolute gong show the entire time. They actually had a private member's bill put forward by a backbencher to eliminate daylight savings time in Alberta and just move to a standardized time.
That would be great.
Now, it would be great, but then the NDP voted down their own bill. They put forth the bill, and then they voted it down when they realized that it was a good idea and that people would like it, and it would make things simpler and easier. They're like, oh, we can't have any of that.
What
Sorry, guys.
So it's just politics.
Seriously.
I hate that. I really can't stand that. If your only thing is to be political and divisive, I can't stand that. I really can't. I don't know. I'm a solutions oriented kind of person, so it's a exercise in just time wasting.
It absolutely was. And to be absolutely fair, I'm implanting their intentions on them in this. I don't think they ever really gave intentions as to why they voted down their own bill.
So,
but
there are
it
reasons.
Didn't make a lick of sense.
There are reasons why people would introduce a bill and then vote it down. So, for example, Ron Paul, he would do this tactic all the time. When it came to the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, he would introduce bills to declare war against countries because it's the legal way to do it.
Yeah.
So, as they're trying
and when it gets voted down, then he says, you guys didn't vote for war against this country, so quit being a bunch of jerks.
Yeah. You don't want to declare war, then why are we there? Why are you trying to do this? And I think it's a good tactic to do that. It's not really an exercise in futility at that point, because then you are really, it's an activist sort of thing to do, and you're making a point when it comes to that.
Yeah, which is,
well, the liberals,
sadly,
the liberals in the federal government are doing a similar thing right now with this Ukraine. What is it?
The free trade deal,
the free trade
which
deal.
There already is one existing, but they want a carbon tax brought into it, and then
that's the
they're
thing.
not
So
having
it's not about to expire or anything.
And neither is the mainstream. Yeah, but I mean, it's not actually about Ukrainian free trade. Elon Musk did this awesome tweet last week where he was talking about how governments pass bills with names that have absolutely nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
And the bill that got passed in France, or the committee, I guess, or whatever, that that beheaded so many people during the French Revolution was like the
public safety committee.
Public safety committee. Yes, thank you.
Right.
Was. And then it had nothing to do with it. I mean, affordable housing doesn't make anything more affordable. This Ukrainian free trade agreement deal doesn't actually have anything to do with Ukrainian free trade. And anytime you see pretty much any bill,
it's all BS.
Follows roughly the same.
Yeah, it's all BS. The name of the bill is usually the opposite. But I wanted to get
firearms.
Yeah, especially the firearms stuff. That's all through public safety as well. Which incidentally, there was actually a report that came out of the government from the bureaucracy that stated it was the gun statistics, gun and crime statistics, and they made a note in the statistics to say that it's almost, I can't remember how they worded it, but it was basically, if you are a legal firearm, like you legally own firearms, you're almost never going to commit a crime. Like you're not going to commit crime. Like that's.
It seems as though the one thing the vetting process does well is vetting. Yeah. But
yeah.
But no, it's actually, you know, I don't know if you're planning on moving on or not, but that clip you had for the preview for this episode, where that guy was talking about how there's no parental rights.
I wanted to get into that. And that's where I wanted to go with that.
Perfect.
Can I roll that
Patty
clip?
has to. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Let's roll this
on your own show. Yes, just do whatever I tell you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So this is the clip. I'm not sure exactly who this guy is. He's some NDP.
So this is a guy who later on in the clip, he fell off a wall, and then all the king's horses and all the king's men were able to reassemble him.
Yeah, Humpty Dumpty here. He's got some extraordinary views on parental rights. Well, let's just play the clip.
Federal government to take action when necessary health care is denied to Canadians.
Do you view this as a parental rights issue at all?
Well, I'd like to say, first of all, there's no such thing as parental rights. In Canada, there are parental responsibilities. And in Canadian family law, the primary responsibility of parents is to support and affirm their kids. Children have rights in Canada, and these kind of policies restrict the rights that children have in Canada.
So then is this taking away rights from children?
So there's a lot said there. First off, he says that parents don't have rights. Parents don't have rights in Canada. They have,
which is, and that's, yeah, they have responsibilities. So that's, I just saw this maybe 20 minutes before I came on here. Patty Hajdu, who is a member of parliament in the Liberal Party, Thunder Bay Superior North, so Ontario.
Oh, why did I think he was NDP?
That wonderful bastion. Oh, he was NDP, but Patty Hajdu, this person I'm about to mention, she just put out this tweet. It's a great day for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis kids and families across Canada. The inherent right of Indigenous families to care for their children is finally being recognized, a right that should have never been taken away in the first place.
So they clearly disagree with this Liberal or this NDP
presumably.
Guy. Presumably. So there's a lot to unpack here, though. So they say that he says that parents don't have rights. If you're in Quebec, that might be more true than not true. During the COVID pandemic, some ruling removed the supremacy of the parent in Quebec. So essentially, the government they can step in between, and they have the supremacy over the parent. In that parental parent-guardian relationship.
Doesn't surprise me one bit.
I remember that because that was something that Viva Fry was really concerned about on his show. And of course, because he's from Quebec, right? And
yeah.
And that's kind of the canary in the coal mine.
I can't call that place what I usually do.
What do you call it?
You'll have to tune into the podcast.
Okay. We make sure everyone's got the link for that.
You run into trouble where during the podcast you're like, okay, that's a great thing. I'm going to put it in the show notes, and then you finish the podcast, you do have the show notes, you put it out there, and then you totally forget and never do it. I'm the worst for that.
Oh, I always put the links to all the things that I and this is something that I wish more YouTubers would do, especially when you're covering news stories. You show a story and you're only covering a part of an article or whatever. Put the link in the description.
And you put the entire, okay, all right. See, that gets difficult for something like the mashup, for example, because you're limited in how many characters you can put in the preview for a podcast. And so when you've got an entire big URL, and then you've got, like last week, Sean and I covered something like 32 different articles. And so when you look at all those URLs, they're far too large to fit in the text box for a podcast thing.
Have you never used Bitly? You don't know what
I have.
You don't, okay, you know what Bitly
I know. You get that super tiny URL.
Yeah.
And that would technically work. I do not have the
patience.
I'm not dedicated enough. To make 32 Bitlys for each episode.
That's
so
fair.
What we just do is every once in a while we mention on the show that if you guys want, you can just reach out, and we've got all of our notes from all of our episodes going all the way back, and we can tell you.
That works. See,
so
this is how
they're
I
all
do
available.
My show notes. This is because my episodes are typically like 10 minutes long, between 8 and 15 minutes. and then I'm just rifling through tabs when I like Google Chrome tabs, right?
Yep.
When I'm doing my show. And then when I record it, I hit upload, and then I just copy and paste all the links into the description. And there's never like that many, so that's how I'm able to do it. And then I do it also for my own records, because then later if I'm like, oh, what was that story I covered, and I had that, I can go back to my own video and get the link, which is
that is good.
It's a good resource. So yeah, I'm always a fan of putting the links in the description for everybody. Make sure that everybody can go check out the stuff. But yeah, getting back to this guy. So he says, he says, parents don't have a right, or they don't have rights. They have responsibilities, and they have a responsibility to affirm their children. Now, this is new language. This is a whole new concept that even a lot of people listening to this guy don't understand what this means. And affirming, it really goes towards this thing called affirmation care, and it's in the the psychological. Even your dog doesn't like affirmation care. Thinks that's an awful way of conducting yourself as a psychologist. But so, and this is it. There's argument over this, and of course they want to mask it and masquerade around saying that there's a consensus in the psychological camp, when there isn't. In fact, anyone who speaks out against affirmation care, they go after their license as a practitioner.
Yep.
And it's crazy.
Can you think of any high-profile cases where that's happened recently?
Just the name. Kermit the Frog sounding guy from Canada. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Jordan Peterson.
Of course, Jordan Peterson. He's been railing on affirmation care, and this is part of what they're going after.
But that's another perfect example of the name being nothing like what it actually is.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, affirmation. Like, well, it kind of is, but it sounds pleasant. Like, it sounds pleasant.
Yeah,
you're affirming things. It's an affirmative action or whatever. Like, these are. It sounds nice. It's a marketing scheme. What is affirmation? You're affirming your kid's delusion. Like that's what it is. You're telling your kid, yeah, you're like my if I had affirmation care in my house, my son would be Spider-Man. My son isn't Spider-Man. He doesn't web sling. He loves it. He likes to put on the suit and he runs around doing it.
Well, I mean, and what's affirmation care for your son going to be? Like, how many radioactive spiders are they going to have to put in with him before he actually gets those powers?
That's crazy.
How much is that going to cost? Right. And then, it's funny because they're saying, okay, well, they want the same rights as anybody else in Canada. Right. And Danielle Smith says, well, you can't do that here. She's getting rid of bottom surgeries for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, well, we want to have the same rights as everybody else. And listen, mofo, she just gave you the same rights as anybody else. If you want medical care, you have to go to Mexico now.
So here's the thing, like the argument, and I love to play devil's advocate here. The argument is that, well, you're limiting some sort of thing that, healthcare, calling it healthcare. It's not healthcare. It's cosmetic surgery, if anything. Right. That's it. And our government doesn't cover cosmetic surgery for cosmetic reasons alone. And that's all that is. That's all that is for cosmetic reasons alone. There's no functionality to it, because if you change the things, they no longer function. They don't
unless you're a microbial colony, maybe then that surgery probably does a pretty good function for you.
That's really gross. That really puts really nasty images in my
head. It's really
head.
Correct, though.
It is.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. No, you're not wrong. But
okay, let's move past it.
Moving past that one. I totally lost my train of thought there. I'll get it right back. I got a super chat from Lightgiver for $10. It says, under the Children Act of 1989, parental responsibility means all the rights, duties, powers, responsibilities, and authority which by law a parent of a child has in relation to the child and property. So those are
I
rights.
didn't even know that act existed, let alone what year it was passed, let alone which relevant part of the legislation had to do with this.
This is why I
show.
love the internet, and I love my audience. We've got the greatest community on the internet.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
You should probably have that guy on the show one day.
I should. Yeah, Light Giver. That'd be great. But thank you so much, Light Giver, for the $10 super chat and the information on that. But yeah, if you translate that into like layman's words, yeah, they're rights. They're rights. Yeah, they might kind of say it's parental responsibilities. But here's the thing: as a parent, yes, you have responsibilities because you're criminally liable if anything goes wrong. It's a responsibility.
Our medical system is not.
And this is where it gets crazy. Oh, my thought that I was thinking. You know, they're saying you're denying access to a thing for children, but we deny access to children for lots of things: alcohol, tobacco, firearms,
tanning.
Tanning, is that a thing?
Yeah. Somebody just put it up on Twitter last week. You can't use a tanning bed unless you're 18 in Alberta, because of course the evil UCP wants to keep everybody white as well.
Is that the plan? Is that the white supremacist plan?
Everyone's gonna have next to no melatonin or melanin or whichever one it is.
Melatonin. Oh wow. Yeah.
Nobody wears shorts either.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny. That's the white supremacist plot. But you can't use a tanning bed until you're of age, because it's
until you're old enough to realize the ramifications of it.
Right. I understand it.
There's so many things like that.
Absolutely.
It's not an extremist view, Clyde, to say that a person should be able to drive to their own sex change operation and celebrate with a beer afterwards.
I was taking a sip when you said that. Oh. That's funny. It really is. Let's move on to the next clip, because I want to get into this, because this was Pierre Poilievre. I hope I cue it up at the right point. I might have to move around in the clip, so bear with me if I'm not at the right part of it. But this is him the other day.
Caused after 8 years. He's not worth the cost. He's not worth the crime. But when I'm Prime Minister, we're going to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime.
Mr. Poilievre, do you support age restrictions for puberty blockers and hormone therapies for trans kids?
I think that Justin Trudeau is trying to divide and distract Canadians by spreading disinformation about the decisions that premiers and parents are making.
What do you think? What do you think? I want to know your position.
What is your own party policy? It's your own party policy. At party convention.
I think we should protect the rights of parents to make their own decisions.
What does it mean?
With regards to their children.
So before I go on the clip, I mean, he's obviously trying to dance around the question, right? He's being a politician.
And he spent several days dancing around this question. And it's funny because even while he's dancing around the question, he's still running circles around the journalists.
Oh, big time.
But yeah, he went out of his, he took great lengths to not give any sort of a firm answer on this. It's almost a page out of Trudeau's book.
Right. And it's interesting because we'll get into it later. There's a clip from CTV where I knew exactly what they were going to do with this and turn it into a hit piece and just grab the little clips that they want. And this,
but that's exactly why he was dodging it, is because everything he says turns into a hit piece. Like this exact moment where you paused it, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we asked him a question and he just closed his eyes for a while."
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. I really wouldn't.
And then they wonder why they all got fired today.
We will get into that. I think that's a great conversation to have. Let's get into what the rest of what he had to say.
And I believe that adults should have the freedom to make any decision they want about their bodies.
But minors, how about surgeries and medical interventions for minors, as your own party members suggested?
Medical interventions like what?
That is the language that your party
What medical
used.
interventions?
Well, you would have to ask.
So he did say, I think that adults should be able to make any decision that they want in their own lives and what they want to do with their body. Now, do you think they're ever going to use that clip? Do you think that they're ever going to say, like, Pierre Poilievre is really pro freedom of choice for everybody to do what they want to do with their bodies?
Well, I imagine that they're probably going to try and turn that into him backtracking on abortion or something like that. And then there's that whole there's that whole thing that shall not be named thing where they're going to be like, oh, he's just got a track record of not caring about the greater good.
Not caring about the great. Yeah, right.
Your party members,
What medical
such as puberty blockers and hormone
For minors?
Yeah. Yes.
Irreversible? You're talking about
I'd like to understand your
I just want to be clear.
with,
No, I want to be clear. I just want to be clear.
For minors.
Puberty blockers for minors?
Do you agree with that?
Do you agree with that?
I think that we should protect children
What
and their
does that
ability
mean?
to make adult decisions when they're adults.
So
And
you
that
think
would affect-
only adults should
Yes.
make you said yes, just to be clear, you said yes, only adults should take puberty blockers?
I think we should protect children, let them make adult decisions when they become adults.
So that means
you support age
so that means
restrictions?
you are against puberty blockers for kids under the age of 18. Is that
Yes.
unclear? Okay.
You just
What
answered
about,
that
can I ask
like
you
4
about,
times.
They wanted a clearer clip. That's the whole thing. They want the clearer clip. I want him to say that, and we want him to say it out loud. And he actually comes out and he says it out loud.
Wait, I just want to make another comment on this. Justin Trudeau is again puffing out his chest, trying to divide Canadians and attack parents who are trying to protect their kids. He will, in the end, back down on this, just like he had to back down on his firearms policy, just like he had to back down on bringing in medical assistance in dying for people suffering from mental illness. Just like he's backing
Technically,
down again
he didn't
and again.
back down on
He will
that
back
for
down on
any
this.
reason other than a lack of willing doctors.
Right.
So, yeah, he didn't back down because he changed his mind. He backed down because the entire psychiatric community of Canada said,
Nah.
chill the fuck out.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. Well, we have the clip of Trudeau on the same morning, and him. I have to zoom forward to his point. Or he says it right away, I think, but he does it in French first.
Pharmacare legislation, how is that
Trans
going?
kids are 5 times more likely in this country to attempt suicide. What Mr. Poilievre and Ms. Smith are proposing is to take away the rights of parents and their kids to make the right choices for them with their doctors. We don't think government should be doing that. Our government will always stand up for the most vulnerable, including our trans youth. Les jeunes trans, je suis madame, et aux jeunes, notre gouvernement va continuer, verra bien appuyer ce genre, faire des bons choix pour eux, biologique. It is important. We've seen, so let me just answer in English.
He sounds like he's got a
It
mouthful
really is
of
important.
grout.
The fact that Premier Smith and Pierre Poilievre want government to take away the option for parents and their vulnerable youth in consultation with their doctors to make the right decisions for them is anchored in ideology and is not about protecting the most vulnerable. Our government will do whatever it takes to protect the most vulnerable.
You met with
Unless they want to take horse paste.
Right? That's great. I didn't even consider that because I was just so like on this train of like, protecting our kids from this gender ideology crap. But yeah, like what happened to people making their own choices in medical decisions on what they're going to do with that?
Here's the thing is you can read a lot into politicians or people in general when their stance on the same thing changes depending on whether their guy is saying it or not.
Wow.
Right? Whether their guy is doing it or not. Right? You had Bev Oda resigning, I don't know, about 10 years ago over that $16 orange juice. And then you had the Trudeau appointed Governor General Canada on that crazy $80-some thousand worth of in-flight catering trip to the Middle East.
Beef Wellington,
where
I didn't even know what Beef Wellington was until that story came out.
And there was something like $230 worth of orange juice on there, and they redacted the amount for national security. They're like, well, how much orange juice? Because, I mean, to be fair, if it was, say, a few thousand gallons of orange juice, that might be a good price.
Yeah, you got like you're feeding the whole military. You got
maybe
some
just,
OJ.
It's our generation's Agent Orange, and so you just carpet bomb it on less fortunate people as the plane flies over top, right? But they redacted the amount of orange juice on this flight from the Freedom of Information requests because of national security, which is utterly absurd.
That is really absurd. And that's obviously you can tell what the motive is right there.
Yeah, they want to hide from scrutiny.
Because because of the historical reference to OJ
of orange juice.
Yeah, and that's that. Holy crap. I got a $2 super chat from Choosy Heretics. Choose Carnation Revolution Now, saying answer is blowing in my name. Okay, well, it's all in the name, my friend. Okay, that's a thing. Okay, and then here's the thing with this whole Trudeau thing. You're talking about medical intervention that's not necessary. And again, we're back to square one. We did this all the way through the pandemic. Medical intervention that people don't think is necessary, and the rights of people to make those decisions on their own instead of having to resort to authority figures in this
dictating what they can and can't do. Personally, I don't know about you, Clyde, but I am very glad that Trudeau has finally come around to our side on this, and that he is, opened his mind up enough to realize that this is the right way forward, and that giving people the choice of what they want to do with their bodies is the right thing to do. And I don't think we could be demonetized for that or anything like that, because that's just straight from his mouth.
No, but with the same mental gymnastics, you can say that he's on the opposite side.
It's absolutely insane, right? Because that was our thing, and that's okay, but this is his thing, and that's what makes it wrong. And
but he's also
not really puberty.
He's also advocating the other way, because if you think about it, he's saying that the parents and the children aren't the right arbiters in making these decisions. It's ultimately the teachers and the social workers that are the ones that should be making these decisions medically for the kids.
And their argument is that there's the odd parent who's not situated to do the right things in the best interest of the kids, right? When have you ever heard of a government that maybe once or twice ever in history has been not doing the right things for the citizens? All of them, all the time, forever.
Every single one. Yeah.
No. And they're like, so you can't really win this moral argument. And the other thing about puberty blockers, I wanted to make this point, is that technically it is a correct term, but in the same sense that cyanide is a puberty blocker.
Well, yeah,
if you take cyanide, you're not going to go through puberty because it straight up sterilizes the kids.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. A guillotine is a puberty blocker. Right. Like this is the most innocuous name you could possibly give to something as permanent as that.
Well, I mean, an elastic band is a puberty blocker if you're a goat. I mean.
Yep.
That's the treatment. That's the way we do it, and they don't.
That's what we did.
Do you have goats?
Not anymore, but we had them as a kid. I hate those bastards.
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, that's what you do. You just tie a little rubber band around it, and then they never become man goats. And that's the thing. That's the thing. And they behave more docile. Perhaps
the Billies never become Williams.
Maybe that's what they want. They want more docile people in our society. But Will Kowalchuk with a $5 super chat says, "I'm sorry, but the government is there to run the country, not Canadians." And I absolutely agree with that. And this is the thing. Like,
how much of the country do they really even need to run, though?
Well, but that's the problem here. Is it's a mentality thing, I think, in my opinion. Like, have you ever lived somewhere where there's like a strata or a co-op or whatever, or like a housing authority where you?
Yeah, I actually, the first house I bought was a townhouse, and it was infuriating. It was just the bureaucracy. I don't know. Would you like to hear a couple funny stories?
Shoot, because this is tying exactly into what I was about to say.
All right. Okay. So when I moved out into another house, I turned it into a rental, and it's great. I've had the same renters, the same tenants there for 8 years. They've been absolutely wonderful. But there's been issues with the condo board a whole bunch of times because, for example, one of the visitor parking lots is right next to it. And so got a letter saying that there's a bunch of cigarette butts in the parking lot there, and that because they were next to our unit, that it needed to get cleaned up. So go clean it up if it's a big deal. It's not. And then everybody has a little fenced backyard, and a couple times a year they'll go and just kind of poke over all the fences and make sure that everything's following the rules. And my stance is if you've got to peek over the fence to tell if somebody's breaking a rule, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
But the tenants have this barbecue that kind of looks it's a collapsible one, and it's pretty low key. And so then there was this letter going. They sent me a letter saying that the tenants need to get rid of this toolbox in their backyard. It needs to be stored away. It can't be just left out in the yard. I said, well, they don't have a toolbox. And they're like, yeah, it is. We saw it. I said, no, there's no toolbox there. So there's nothing that needs to get moved. I'm considering this matter closed. There's a toolbox there. We know. We looked in the yard, and it needs to get moved. Are you talking about the barbecue?
No way.
Are you talking about the barbecue? Right. And then the worst was that about 4 units over, they had a deck in their backyard, and a skunk had moved in underneath it. And they couldn't get the condo board to do anything about the skunk. And then the skunk was just roaming around, and then it had a litter of skunks.
Oh.
And so I had been sending numerous emails to this condo board. Like, can you guys just like get an exterminator? Like, how hard is it? Can you guys just take care of this? This is literally what we pay condo fees for. And then finally it got to the point where I did this huge thing where I'm like, it's been 6 months. They've moved in an entire family here. They're squatting. I don't think that they're like, are they up to date on their condo fees? Because if they're not, maybe we should evict them. Like, at what point are we going to stop calling these transient animals and start considering them permanent residents of the condo?
Do they have their immigration status? Papers, please.
And then I basically just said, I'm done asking nice. So if this isn't cleared up in a week, I'm hiring an exterminator, and I'm withholding the bill, the difference in condo fees. And if I have no idea if it's legal or not, but you can take me to court.
Yeah, it'd be easier to just settle it right away.
Yeah. Like I have no idea if it's legal or not, but you can take me to court, and we can run up costs for everybody. Or you could just hire the damn exterminator.
But they would do that. They would run up the cost for everybody. And this is why I talked about, a condo board or a co-op, because it's the exact same thing as government. It's anytime we organize and we put people in a position of authority, and especially where they have the power to leash out punishment or fines or any
Stanford prison experiment type people.
Yes, and who gravitates towards that? The worst people. And
absolutely.
And most people just want to live their life, so they don't pay much attention to it until it gets so bad that you have to go in and like stage a coup at your condo board. It really does come down to that. And governments are the same way. You get these hoity-toity people, or you get these schmarmy people, and that's all they want to do. I'm gonna go after and that's the kind of people that gravitate towards this thing. And yeah, you'll run into dumb things. Like I know in where I live, because I live at a townhouse complex, and it's like, you know, visitor parking's pretty lax for a while, and then they crack down, and then they're lax down for a while, and then they crack down. And it's like that with everything. But you'll always get your best bet is to just like not be noticed, right? And then hopefully the arbiters of misery don't come after you, because that's what they do. Now the bigger they get, the worse it's always going to be. The more power that they have, the worse it's going to be. So you always try to limit the size of your co-op or your thing, just like you want to limit the size of your government.
That's fair. And the other thing is that they don't use resources efficiently.
Why would
They'll
they?
be like, oh, well, it's only an extra few bucks per unit. Who cares? And that's only an extra few bucks. And then that all adds up. Now, here's the thing. Like, if you're not the one bearing the cost of it, you're not going to be as mindful about the expense that's being incurred. Like when you use a hotel, Clyde, do you use the same amount of shampoo as usual, or do you use more?
I drink my own shampoo.
Okay. All right. Well, I am cheap.
I can't stand hotel shampoo. It's the worst. It's the worst. You smell like that, and you smell it for the rest of the day, and you're just like, I can't wait to get back home and shower with normal stuff.
Well, we don't all have manicured beards, but for those of us who don't here in this conversation,
I'll take that dig. I'll take that.
All right.
I deserve it.
I'll take that shampoo, and I'll open up the cap. And it's just like it's the Dairy Queen ice cream cone in my hand, kind of thing, right? Because who cares? I'm gonna have the cleanest hair ever. It's gonna be great. What I already paid for this. Who cares, right? It's shampoo. It's no extra cost to me, regardless of how much I use it or not. And that's exactly what governments do.
Yeah, you got to water.
They use all the hotel
like every
shampoo.
Time you take a dookie, it's just
yep.
No matter what, you're using it all. They provided it. I'm using all of it. Yep. That's fine, but it's true.
Well,
this is human behavior.
Like department budgets. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Well, you go to the buffet and you see they got look at the bacon. Bacon's expensive.
Yeah, you'll see people that just get a whole plate full of bacon sometimes. Because right.
It really is that. And I mean, I worked in property management when I was younger. I was a handyman doing property management. And I watched it, like, just waste, like absolute waste. They would call up a handyman just to, like, oh, there's a screw hanging there. Like, just get a driver.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna call a handyman. I'm gonna contract it out. Bill an hour for the handyman to come out and boop boop, take a screw out of the wall. Screw's hanging. I just gotta turn it in a little bit. Oh, okay. And then on top of that, embezzlement. Like the chances of embezzlement are so high in these. And I'm not making any specific allegations for anybody who's watching this that knows me from those days. But the chances are very high that, I don't know, maybe your boyfriend has a cleaning company and now we do a special cleaning operation every time we do a unit. Or
or the condo board's president's son happens to get hired on by the yard maintenance people.
Yeah, all of this stuff.
And then that, yep. Just as a completely hypothetical example that totally fucking happened.
Of course. I'm sure we all have specific times, but this just it becomes the rule, right? I can't remember who said
look
it.
At what's happening with the ArriveCan app right now.
I was getting into that. So
oh, sorry, you were leading up to it.
I was leading up. I'm diving in. I'm going cannonball. So, but that's it. So I can't remember who coined this, but power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Corrupts absolutely.
And when we have a government that are just, they're the same douchebags that are in your co-op, all the same douchebags, but they're just on a grander scale. And then they come out and they're the ones that are running these things like ArriveCan, which was a $54 million thing, and it's turning out it's like more like $80 million. And
I hadn't heard that part of it yet.
Yeah,
but
Marty was just telling me this the other day, and I think 70.
You ever come out and visit him?
Well, I was there when I met you.
Well, no, okay, yeah. Right. There was that one specific time, but I mean, you guys do, like, is it a regular weekly thing, or is it just
a weekly
often?
thing? Yeah, every Thursday morning
right.
it gets published. It's every Wednesday evening that we record it.
So, but I mean, how many times have you come out to this neck of the woods?
So I met him in person twice, and last time I stayed at his place when I was there. Mm-hmm. So he's got a lovely house, and
yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's definitely got room.
yeah, and really hospitable, great family, and put me up for a couple of nights, and then it was great because he gave me a lift to and from the airport. So yeah, fantastic. I've got nothing but great things to say about him and his family. Mm-hmm. But he has invited me to go for a hunting trip next early fall.
Ooh,
or mid fall. He goes moose hunting every fall.
Yep.
So I got the official invite to that. So I'm really actually looking forward to that trip. It's going to be something else. I'm not a hunter myself.
No,
but I'd like to get into it.
You should be at least a bit of a fisherman, though, hey? Being on the coast.
I've fished my whole life, but I grew up in Ontario fishing.
Right.
Fishing out here is a little different.
What is a muskie?
A muskie? It's a fish.
Yeah, but we don't have them out here. But people in Ontario talk about muskies when they go to the not the cabin. What do you guys call it? The cottage.
Going to the cottage.
You're like, oh yeah, I was out at the cottage and I caught some muskie.
Yeah, muskie or pike. That's the thing.
Oh, it's just a jackfish.
I don't know. I don't know. A pike, is that what you're referring to as a jackfish? No, muskie and pike are different fish.
Okay.
Yeah, but those are like the common fish that you'll catch in that area of Ontario. Mm-hmm. It's more northern Ontario. People are usually talking about Muskoka or like the like Barrie area, that sort of thing, or even further up. But people are saying in the chat, big teeth. Muskies grow up to 40 inches. They're big. They're big fish. And then when I grew up in southern Ontario, because I fished up there too, and then southwestern Ontario, like you can catch perch in Lake Erie. Those are actually really nice eating fish. If you like,
yes, they are.
If you like freshwater fish, because freshwater fish tend to have more of a fishy taste. That's not palatable.
It depends. For some people. Like jackfish is kind of known for that a little bit more, but it really depends on how you do them. You fry them up fresh.
Oh, they're great.
Like they're phenomenal.
I love it. Like I'll eat northern pike. They're great. They're bony, but like who cares? I'm fine with that. I love fish. I mean, I moved to Japan for 3 years. I lived there, and you eat lots of fish while you're there. That's definitely a thing, and you learn how to pick the bones out very well.
Okay, the wasabi.
Yeah.
So it's funny because like the first time I tried sushi in North America, I was like, this tastes just like horseradish. Yeah. And then the person I was there with was like, oh, how could you say that about wasabi? I'm all cultured and whatnot. And then it turns out I found out years later that all the wasabi that we have here in North America is horseradish.
And I love that. I just call them hoity-toity people, like people that are like cultured. Like, I'm cultured. You should try reading a book one day. You know, like those kind of people.
Yeah, exactly. That was totally it.
I love those people because they make fools of themselves often, and it's fun to just sit back and enjoy the show.
See, and the thing about it is, like, I make a fool of myself fairly often too, but if you're not being like that about it, it's easier to move past it.
Well, you're not being insulting. You're not being insulting to the other people, which is funny because like I don't know why people want to be insulting. If somebody doesn't know something, I'm not like, you know,
I can't believe you didn't know this thing.
Right? Who cares? There's a lot of things I don't know.
Do you even read books about late 80s baseball in Indiana? Come on.
Right? Is that like something you really excel at?
Yeah. Okay, so wasabi.
Okay, wasabi.
In Japan.
Okay, so wasabi.
Tell me all about actual wasabi.
So I like actual wasabi, and anytime only the first time I ever bought it was actually a few months ago. And so we frequent a store in Vancouver that does Japanese foods and stuff, right? And we bought real wasabi, like a root.
Okay.
Like the root. You buy the root. And I really like it, but it's not the same thing that you get out of the tube. Like when you get the tube or you get the stuff at the restaurant, often the stuff at the restaurant, because I worked at a Japanese restaurant and I saw how it's all done. It comes as a powder. And they add water to it, and then they knead it, and then it becomes the wasabi stuff that you end up eating. And it's that stuff, or the stuff that comes in the tube, is mostly you're rare to get any real wasabi. It's always horseradish with food coloring and then some artificial flavors to try to make it taste more like wasabi. But
it doesn't keep long enough, I don't think, for the trip across the ocean.
Well,
something like
wasabi, I mean, it's really
hard to.
It's expensive, is what it is. So to mulch that much wasabi, I mean, we would run out of wasabi. It's really difficult to farm. It has to be specific conditions to farm it. It has to be like really clear water, but it can't be like frigid like water like we have in British Columbia that's coming off a glacier. It's got to be like in a moderate temperature, and then all the conditions have to be right for the stuff to grow. And so there's several farms that actually do it, and this stuff's really expensive. So a great alternative is to make it out of horseradish, and a lot of people enjoy it. But the stuff that you get is spicier. Like the horseradish stuff is way spicier than real wasabi.
Okay.
Like real wasabi is really mild, actually. And if you like the kick from wasabi, when you eat the real root that you grind in a little thing, it you end up having to have a lot more of it, and it's really tasty. It's really tasty. But I'm not snobby about it at all. Like there's no reason to be snobby about it. There's a sushi restaurant in town here that it depends on what you order. They'll serve you real wasabi or not.
Okay.
So if you order the expensive sashimi platter, you'll get real ground up wasabi. They serve that with it. But if you're getting the rolls, you're just gonna get the whatever standard wasabi. It's funny how that works, but it's quality of service. It is a thing. How did we get on wasabi?
Did you ever try the pufferfish? Oh, because you mentioned Japan, and then I quite like horseradish, and so anytime something even vaguely related to horseradish comes up in a conversation,
well, if you like horseradish, you'll absolutely love karashi. Karashi is a Japanese mustard, and it's very horseradishy, and so I eat it with steak all the time. I like mixing it with soy sauce. Like I'll get some, and you got to get Japanese soy sauce, like Kikkoman or something like that. If you get Chinese soy sauces, they taste totally different. It's a different flavor. So Japanese soy sauce with karashi. This it comes in a tube just like wasabi, but it's yellow.
Are you drinking Asahi right now?
Oh, that's hilarious. Wow. What a guess. What a guess. What a guess. That's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, I just like it. I got used to drinking it when I was living in Japan, and
it's a good beer.
It really is. It really is.
And you can get far larger cans of it, which are nice.
Yes. I put them in my Yeti cup holder. I know Yeti coolers and stuff. A lot of people rave about them. I think coolers can be overrated. But these things, I've had podcasts where I was talking for 2 hours and didn't even take a sip of my beer. Finished the podcast ice cold.
Nice.
Yeah, so I recommend. I should be getting a sponsor deal. What am I doing? Recommending this.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Isn't it funny how you just kind of randomly end up talking about things you like or products you enjoy, or like, oh yeah, actually, you know what, this guy's doing this thing or whatever else. I really should get him to pay me to say that.
Yeah, sometimes it's always after the fact that you forget to mention that. But before we run out of time, speaking of products that suck, let's talk about Justin Trudeau and his he had a freak out. He had a bit of a freak out about firing journalists because he put a lot of effort into building a propaganda outfit. Basically all the media, turning them into propagandists. And well, it turns out they suck at their jobs and they all got fired. Really? I've got the clip here. This is just too good.
This is a garbage decision.
Oh, could you just pause this for a sec? So this is Bell recently laid off. They shut down all the small town news, if I'm not mistaken, laid off 4,800 or 8,400 people.
It was big.
Something
I can't remember
like
the number. Yeah.
Just huge hack and slash. Not very long after Bell got a $40 million media bailout, although I'm not sure if they shared that with anybody.
Oh, it probably all went to just the corporate leaders' bonuses, because that's what it does. And it's funny because this is how they justify it. Well, on the books, it looks like we got a lot of money this year. We got more money than we normally do.
Bonuses.
So we all deserve our bonuses.
Yeah, and so this is Trudeau's reaction to this problem that he created.
This is a garbage decision by a corporation that should know.
He's a guy who would know.
We have seen over the past years journalistic outlets, radio stations, small community newspapers bought up by corporate entities who then lay off journalists, change the offering, the quality of offering to people.
Welcome to the Clyde
and then when people
show.
don't watch as much or engage as much, the corporate entity says, oh, see, they're not profitable anymore. We're going to sell them off.
I ran off for another
This is the erosion, not just of journalism, of quality local journalism, at a time where people need it more than ever, given misinformation and disinformation, but it's eroding our very democracy.
It's eroding
our abilities
democracy,
to tell stories to each other of how people's lives are, stories that reflect our own communities and not, central offices in our biggest cities, is part of what binds this country together from coast to coast to coast.
I'm tired of hearing that expression, coast to coast to coast. How many people are
I'm tired of seeing that guy's idiot face. and also Justin Trudeau.
And Justin Trudeau. You're talking about the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford. Look at the grimace on his face. Wow. He's upset.
Well, I mean,
too.
I don't know what the hell happened, but at some point he did. I think like Trudeau just took him into some back office and said, look, bucko, here's the way it's going to go going forward. And here is some incriminating pictures of you and a giant sandwich. And unless you do everything I say, the world's going to see these pictures. And then he came out, and everything that Justin has wanted ever since has been given to him by Doug Ford.
Wow.
But that's a side note. But yes, so
well, I have this.
It's crazy.
I have this. This is great.
Oh yes.
This is Vesper on Twitter. He put this video together.
I'm furious. This is a garbage decision.
Now, in the highlighted here thing, it's Mr. Sabia was CEO of Bell Canada Enterprise. It looks like prior to joining that, he began his career in the federal public service, serving principally in the Department of Finance and something council office, where he was deputy secretary to the cabinet plans. So he's an insider. Like Trudeau put him in.
He is an insider. That's so crazy. So sorry, they said that's a CEO.
This is the CEO. Yeah.
Okay, that's not the kind of person you would ever want as a CEO in a competitive market.
Oh, it gets better.
You would never.
Michael Sabia was appointed chair of the board of Canada Infrastructure Bank in April 2020.
That guy is not a CEO. He may be a CFO, but that's not the guy who runs a company. He's not set up for it. That's a guy that you set up to run a company that exists at the behest of a bunch of bureaucrats.
He was at the behest of Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and then it's crazy. Like, Trudeau says, I'm mad as hell that all of these media people are getting laid off after we gave their company shit tons of money. Has he ever heard of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're a racket. They're absolutely a racket.
Yeah, but that's literally what just happened. And then Catherine Tate, so the Canadian Taxpayers Federation Freedom for Information requests, brought out all this information about the bonuses. And so she was testifying in front of Parliament last week about all these bonuses that they've gotten over the past several years, and how she was dodging questions about whether these bonuses are going to continue, even though they're laying off something like 10% of their workforce, which is more than Bell's 9% that just got laid off, to be clear.
Right.
And she was dodging those questions. Right? This is another corporation that Justin Trudeau has decided to give way more money to than just the paltry $40 million to Bell, and they're laying off tons of people. He gave them more money. They're laying off more people, and the bonuses are getting a lot more publicity, but he won't touch it because it's CBC.
Everything's a failure that this guy puts together. Like everything, even when it comes to his propaganda outfit that he wanted to build,
Mm-hmm.
you know, by buying all the
Well, I mean, that's how it all fell apart.
Well, this is part of how it all
It
fell
is
apart.
because
Yeah.
you know, he basically just incentivized them to be his propaganda rags, and then they stopped doing their actual jobs, and then eventually, you know, it worked in the short term, but eventually the chickens came home to roost, and nobody's interested in looking at media that isn't going to be telling the whole story, isn't going to be honest with them about anything. And then because of that, their viewership is down. CBC, their website's traffic's down 12% year over year. Just as an example, I saw that today. And all of these places are losing relevancy. And all of the people, the old guard in that dying legacy media, they're saying, oh, well, we can't make a go of it in this industry. We can't make a go of it in this industry. Meanwhile, guys like you are doing this how many shows a week? I actually just, I haven't worked out the finer points of it yet, but starting in April, I'm starting to take time off work to focus on putting out more content.
How do we get you to YouTube?
You got to get me to care enough, I guess. It's like, I'd rather just make the stuff and then just be done with it, right? So technically, there is, I bet you if I looked it up. So we made a YouTube channel for the live stream we did of the Alberta election. And then we recently, we use this thing called StreamYard, and it's, okay, perfect. So we use this thing called StreamYard, and they recently added functionality to live stream to YouTube as well. It's one of the things they added.
Yeah.
And so the last several mashups. So we've got 2023 election coverage on the Tuesday, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, and then our last 8 episodes. The last 8 episodes I've done with Sean are on here, and we haven't talked about it. We haven't done anything with it at all. We just hit a button in StreamYard and linked it to it. But yeah, there's 9 videos up there.
You got to give me the link. You got to give me the link so I can share it for everybody, so everybody can get on.
You're much better off. You're much better off going anywhere else. But it's I don't know.
I want to build your YouTube channel up. I want to see you podcasting on YouTube, and then I'll come on as a guest.
All right, I think I just sent it to you on the chat window here.
Okay, I got it.
But no, we can actually I would love to have you on my 222 cents.
Absolutely.
And we could throw it on YouTube, sure, but
yeah, like nobody's really watched you on YouTube yet, and we can
nobody
make that happen.
Sure, but it's funny because I don't really do well when there's words I can't say.
Yeah.
Like I get I'm not going to be dropping N bombs or anything.
No, of course not.
But just worrying about what you can and can't say on there. And so YouTube has never been a focus for me at all because I don't want to have to worry about it.
It's kind of fun actually to play the word game. Because
and come up with clever ways, like what we were talking about before with that thing we weren't talking about.
Yeah. So like anytime we talk about World War II bad guys, I always call them the funny mustache. Clankety clank clan. Like you just come up with like
if you're in Canadian Parliament, World War II bad guys means something vastly different than what we consider World War II bad guys.
Yeah, right. They consider us the World War II bad guys, our grandpas. Right.
Well, did you see Vladimir Putin totally brought that up in that interview with Tucker Carlson last night?
It's an international embarrassment. Like no one is ever gonna forget that. No one ever is gonna forget that the Prime Minister of Canada, and I know he threw Anthony Rota under the bus, and Anthony Rota for whatever reason accepted that fate and fell on his sword.
He's gonna get some kind of a cushy appointment in 6 months is what's gonna happen.
Why, man? Why? It's so crazy. But yeah, anyway, he fell on his sword and Trudeau got out of it, but not for very long. It just broke that it was totally him. He totally invited this Mr. Funny Mustache supporter.
Yeah. And so now, by the Liberals' own logic, the person who did this should resign.
By his own logic, by Trudeau's own logic.
Now that we found out who it actually was, that person should be resigning, correct?
Yeah, he said it's for the sake of the dignity of the House that you do the right thing, right?
Let's not give the House more credit than it deserves right now, shall we?
No, there's not a lot of dignity there. No, there isn't.
Yeah,
it's the passive aggressive chamber. It's what it is.
It's definitely not answer period,
right? I have a hard time watching question period. I really do. Like I'll catch the highlights or I'll watch question period because I know something is about to happen. But just on the regular, I can't watch it because it's infuriating.
Yeah,
they're insufferable.
Yeah,
they are insufferable. Trying to watch.
Yeah, they're just not good at anything they do. And they're not good people. Like, you know how you can kind of get vibes from people where you're like, you know what? I would love to sit down and have a beer with that guy. Yeah. Or that's somebody that I would really enjoy, I don't know, just chilling with and having a conversation with. You look at those people and you're like, those are the kind of people who are going to steal my mail. Oh, wait, they did last election. George Chahal.
Straight Jacket in the chat says, Clyde, I watch question period like I watch kids play dodgeball.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, like the same way you watch NASCAR, right? You just want to see something blow up and you see what yeah.
It's disastrous. It's disastrous. We have moments like that lady that came out and said, honk honk is an acronym for Hail the Funny Mustache Bad Guy.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking? What is crossing your mind when you come out and say this stuff?
She did something really stupid a couple weeks ago that kind of tied in really well with that bad quote that honk honk is a thing. And I wish I could remember what it was. This is one of the things that angers me the absolute most about the Liberals, and I'm sure you can appreciate this, is that they do so many stupid things so often and so unrepentantly that it's hard to keep track of them. Because if they were any same party, you'd be like, oh, well, this is kind of like that thing they did a couple years ago, and then you could call back to it. And you could explain how they're similar or how maybe slightly different or something like that. But after 8 years, there's this absolute encyclopedia of screw-ups.
Well, you forget half of them, and somebody will remind you of
that's
from like
exactly
4 years ago. You're like, oh yeah, right? Like, how are they still in government? It's crazy.
It's like Will Ferrell movies where somebody quotes one and you're like, oh yeah, I totally forgotten about that one. That was a really fun 2 hours.
And then I watch like 4 consecutive movies that are all the same.
And it's just the same thing all the time with just slightly crazier outfits.
Yeah, essentially that's how Hollywood works. They take that winning formula and just shove it down your throat. Oh man, Hollywood's the worst. I don't really get it much into pop culture, but like on my show, but I'm done with movies. There's no good ones.
I saw every single Marvel movie with the exception of the Edward Norton Hulk and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But I did see Winter Soldier. I did see Winter Soldier 3 times in the theater. So it actually averaged out that I saw the equivalent of every single Marvel movie up to and including Endgame in the theater.
I liked the Edward Norton Hulk. There's like a
I did too. I just didn't see it in the theater.
Oh, okay,
I ended up because it had a pretty short run, and I was working in bush in the middle of nowhere.
I didn't like it for some reason. I kind of missed it. I don't know what the deal was, and he didn't get invited back because I heard he was a dick.
Yeah,
to work with.
It's weird because it's almost this catch-22 sometimes with guys in movies where the guys who are really difficult make really good movies, but you kind of want to murder them at the same time. And so, I mean, unless you're Alec Baldwin, you kind of tend to just go in a different direction.
Yeah. Don't piss that guy off.
Yeah. And so, anyway, but yeah, I thought he was, I quite enjoyed him. And then as I've gotten to know Mark Ruffalo better over the years, I like Edward Norton all that more. But
oh, that's good. Okay, I didn't see that one coming. Yeah, Mark Ruffalo.
But the thing about it is like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the whole MCU thing. The last thing I watched in its entirety was Moon Knight, and that probably came out like 2 years ago. Maybe Hawkeye, one of them, whichever one came out last was the last thing that I watched in its entirety.
I got so lost.
The next one was
I got so lost. So many of these things came out, and like I was a comic book lover growing up as a kid, and I remember.
What did you read?
I liked the Amazing Spider-Man, and I liked Wolverine. I liked the X-Men. Later on, I got in a little bit, not a ton, but into Spawn. I thought that was a great comic series. Later in life, I ended up meeting some of the artists that were involved in some of this stuff, and not because I went to conventions, but just like incidentally through like life. Isn't that weird, right?
That's cool.
Yeah, and I always had a great appreciation for it. And I always dreamt of seeing movies that like brought these characters to light. And in the 80s and 90s, they did such a shit job of it. They tried though. They really did.
Okay, Blade was a good movie.
Blade was great. Okay, Blade was great.
And I mean, Blade 3 was them ice skating uphill, but Blade was a great movie. X-Men, which was 2000, so technically just after what you were talking about, but the first X-Men was 2000.
First X-Men was 2000,
right? And
so you're talking about like the first X-Men with where Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, but he was like he wasn't all jacked, like he wasn't Hugh
he was
Jackman.
Strong Man. Yeah, he was. He looked like he just went to one of those day camps that the guy with the mustache had.
Yeah, I remember that. I was excited about that movie when it came out, and I was like, oh, finally, we've got some better CGI and animation. We can make this stuff happen. And then they went, we found a winning formula. But at the same time, woke culture came into play. And it ruined a lot of things. Now, one thing that I blame...
Put a chick in it and make her gay and make her lame.
Yeah. Was that Cartman? That said
yeah.
That? That's hilarious. Because that's how you sum it up. Now, I blame it on the marketing strategy for this. And you could say that, well, they hired all these, woke people or whatever, like they definitely did with Disney and Star Wars and all that.
Look what happened with The Witcher.
So I didn't follow The Witcher. I never played the games and all that stuff.
Okay, games based on books that were originally written in Polish, and I've never read them in their original form. But the books are phenomenal.
You telling me you
the
didn't learn
games
Polish
are
just
amazing.
to?
I would honestly consider it just for these books. They're that.
Oh, they're
good.
that good. They're that good. Okay.
Yes.
Well, see,
they're
just
right
because
up
I
there
didn't
with,
get into something, it doesn't mean that it's not. And I understand that like there's a huge following. For this
you have time. You have time.
Yeah, all the time in the world. So, especially games, man. Games are a time suck.
Oh, dude, I've been playing Oxygen Not Included for like 4 years.
Oh, really? I played a game called Nier Automata.
I haven't heard of it.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Fantastic game. It's one of those weird games. It's like a hack and slash beat 'em up or whatever. Cool game. Anyway, you got to play it 3 times to get the whole story,
that's cool.
It's a really cool game. There's a lot of different anyway, such a time suck. That was a whole month of my life gone. I never get it back.
How far into Baldur's Gate have you gotten yet?
No, I haven't at all.
Oh, okay. Well, that's awesome. So go out and get Baldur's Gate 1, 2, and then throw in a bale.
Okay, sorry guys. The
like
YouTube channel's done. I'm gonna get into this video game.
Seriously,
see you in 2025.
Start with the classics, and then Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, basically, the YouTube channel will just. You'll be like, I'm clicking. Yeah. I don't know. Does the world still exist? I don't know. I still have power,
So
and that's all.
I'll tell you a thing.
Worried about.
I love Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Street Fighter is like this game that I just absolutely love, and I have since I was a kid.
The movie not so much.
Oh, the movie sucked, but that's another take my thing I love and ruin it. But I love the game. It's great, and Street Fighter 6 came out this year or last year, and it's still relatively new. They haven't even introduced all the characters, and if I play anyone, I suck at it because I never have any time to play it.
But if you play the computer, you mop off the floor with them.
No, I suck because it's a game you have to practice to be good at. It's a versus game.
Oh.
And I'm sad about it because I think I could get good, but I have no time. I have 0 time. And I've built like custom controllers where I bought components in Japan. I sourced out the shop to buy the parts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I went all out, and
then you smuggled them back in a giant anime pillow.
Yeah, that's how I got them back. They would never suspect it if I put it in a Hatsune Miku anime fake waifu. That's how you get your stuff back when you come back. So anyway, long story short, I like a lot of this pop culture stuff, but I have no time to get into it. And then when I see things like Star Wars and I see the Marvel movies and they take a different approach to it, I blame it on the strategy. So marketing strategy works like this. Why would you give the thing that they want, the nostalgia crowd, when they're already going to buy the tickets to the thing? They're going to buy it. They're going to buy all the toys. They're going to buy all the things.
Eventually they're not.
Well, eventually they won't, but this quarter they will. Because when you only think about quarterly profits, that's all you care about. And
look at DC this past year. Did you ever read the Flashpoint Paradox?
No, I don't know what that is.
It is one of the best series in comic books that you'll ever read. Jeff Johns, it's phenomenal. It is so good.
Okay.
It's kind of like roughly similar to I want to say the Age of Apocalypse series in Marvel. The one where Wolverine's in the future and he's got his hand chopped off. And all of the characters, basically the timeline gets altered slightly and everybody goes off in different directions. Okay. The Flashpoint Paradox is that. And without any spoilers, the huge crux of the climax is this giant reveal that, and they cut it out and replaced it with a cheap gag with George Clooney.
Really? Like a whole thing. They just made it a joke.
Yeah. Yeah. And they cut that whole thing out so that they could do a cheap gag with George Clooney. And it was just absolutely infuriating. Like, you take like one of the best, you think back to your childhood and the comics you liked and whatever, X-Men, maybe you really like the Phalanx Covenant or something like that, right? One of those huge crossover events, and whichever one's your favorite. And then they just took enough of it to keep the name and then just wrecked the whole rest of it. And was lazy about it and gross, and then just spit in the face of everything you liked. That's what they did with the new Flash movie. And then why are people mad at us?
Well, that's what I think they're doing with everything. Because, like I said, they have a formula. Why would we appease the people that are already going to buy the stuff? They're already going to buy it. What we want is to bring more new people to this, and so they ask the marketers. They say, "Hey, what's hot right now? What can we get? Like, what'll sell tickets? Oh, let's entice the young kids. What are they into? Oh, they're into like totally woke stuff and gender fluidness. And you gotta bring in a woman and make her gay."
Yeah. Yeah. And then we're gonna need something where someone gets superpowers from eating a radioactive Tide Pod. Right?
I'd love to see that character.
But I mean, that's you do see a lot of that stuff, but they don't really have the love for the source material or anything like that. And that's what happened with Witcher. So Henry Cavill was a huge fan of the games, and then he found out about the books, and then he was like, I want to make this show. And he pushed for it, and then he finally got his own show. And then they did such a crap job of writing it and making it nothing at all like that thing that he loved, that he walked away from his magnum opus.
Magnum opus. Is that how it's pronounced? I can't.
Magnum opus. Yeah, I just kind of.
I'm trying to. I found it. So I was looking for this tweet because this came out. Elon Musk tweeted this out just the other day. Disney sucks.
True.
Disney considers Io Debiri, whatever, as replacement for Johnny Depp in Pirates 6. Like, what? And of course, what are they going for? They're going for the reaction of anybody who doesn't like it. You're racist and sexist. It's like, no, we like Johnny Depp. Why can't you just invite him back? Like, you'll guaranteed $50 million sales at the box office. You just bring Johnny Depp.
No, what happened was that somebody in Disney was watching the Amber Heard trials, and they're like, that looks like a lot of fun. She's shitting all over him. Maybe we should too.
It's just like, why do you got to do this? It's so dumb. And my stance on this is, if you don't like something, don't stop buying their products. Straight up, stop buying their products.
Yep.
And stop promoting their stuff too. Like, I like James Rolfe. I don't know if you know who he is. He's well known on YouTube as the angry video game nerd. And
okay, yes,
yeah,
I've seen a couple of his videos.
Yeah, so he's done that, but he's also a film reviewer. He's actually quite savvy when it comes to filmmaking and all of that stuff. And he's a great critic when it comes to film. And his take on it was a bunch of years ago when they were making the Ghostbusters, the all-female Ghostbusters film. And people were asking him, "Oh, are you going to do a review on this?" Because it was pretty hot at the time to like shit all over it. Right? And
it's one of the most disliked YouTube videos of all time, the trailer for that.
He had the best take on the whole thing. The very best take. Because like the clicks, people wanted the clicks, so they go watch the movie and then they do a breakdown of how shitty it was. What did he do? He made a video saying, I think that this is trash. I don't know because I haven't gone to see it, But I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to see it because I'm not going to give them my money, because when I give them my money, it's a signal to do more of this. And I think if you don't want more of this, don't give them your money. And it was the best take ever, in my opinion.
Nice.
Because that's just I'm cashing out. I'm not going to see your crappy movie. I know it's a thing that I love, and it's the nostalgia and all of that stuff, but I'm straight not engaging with this. I'm done. I'm checking out. And I wish more people would do that. Like, boycotts actually work because they're counting on the nostalgia money. They're counting on that, and the reason
the member berries,
like that. So like exactly like I said before, they're gonna abandon you because you've already given them. They're expecting your money anyway. Why would they appease you? Why bother? So they're just gonna do all this woke crap with the properties that you love, and I think that's the best way around it.
Well, it's not a perfect corollary, and I think you're absolutely right, to be clear. Not a perfect corollary, but Sean and I decided, well, actually, we've got this fun dynamic where basically if one of us makes an executive decision, the other one automatically agrees with it. And it's been fun. It's worked every single time, and there hasn't been any disputes about it. There's been a couple times where you're like, okay, right? But just the answer is always yes. And I had made the executive decision, and we spring things on each other live. But I decided that we weren't going to talk about Rachel Gilmore on the show anymore. Because people were like, well, why are you talking about this thing that she's doing or that thing that she's doing?
Right.
Because they're all stupid. They're all pointless. And if we all just quit talking about them, eventually she's going to have to go get a regular ass day job. And I'm not going to have to see this idiot diatribe on my Twitter feed.
Yeah, I have a similar sentiment to you, but I did do a video about her about a week and a half ago.
Okay.
Because she got a new job working for...
Yes, I saw that, sadly, because we still talk about her.
Yeah. You brought her up, so this is all you. Incidentally, we have a super chat from Will Kowalchuk for $10. He says, Clyde, I would like to thank you, your guest. I love your channel. I watch you and Northern Perspective all the time. Love it. Love all in chat. Thank you so much. Chat, give a big thumbs up for all in chat. Wow, huge. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Rachel Gilmore, because you brought it up.
So she gets a job.
Finally. I don't like cancellation. I think if you're doing a bad job, you should lose that job. But I don't think she should never have a job. But the job she got, wow, is that fitting? I suppose. She's working for an extortion racket now. And I don't know how else to label this. Their job is to find advertisers that advertise on places like YouTube or other places in the digital space, and then go after them and say, it's really nice that brand you've built over these years. You know how bad it would be if we destroyed that brand? We have an organization that our job is to destroy brands, and we'll destroy yours if you continue to advertise with this person who you're not directly advertising with. You're just advertising on a platform.
That whole thing's ridiculous. Like if I happen to be standing next to a billboard, does that billboard, guess what? You guys were just advertising next to twos, and so you should be canceled. Right?
It's ridiculous.
It's just
how is it legal though? This is my question: is how is this legal? Because how different is this than somebody coming to your door and saying, "Hey, that's a really nice business you have here. It would be a shame."
Oh, it'd be a shame if something was to happen to the merchandise.
Yeah, like how different is that? It's just a workaround for extortion, and for legal reasons, I have to say, like, it seems like extortion, in my opinion. I don't know if it is. I would like to get a legal opinion on whether or not this is extortion. But if lawyers believe this is extortion, I would like to see this be fought in the court of law, because I'd like to put an end to something that's an illegal practice, right?
Also, just from a common sense perspective, this whole like having your advertisement show up on a digital ad space doesn't make a lick of sense at all, really, by any stretch, right? And so it just, the problem is that corporations are made up of individuals. This is the same thing with, say, the Edmonton Eskimos name change. Right? It didn't make any sense. Eskimo is literally translated as lacer of snowshoes. You could Google this. There's this Alaskan society that talks about it. You can find it in a number of places. I think even Wikipedia says it. And they're
I don't think anybody's ever been offended by the word Eskimo, other than people who are not Eskimos.
And so the classic thing is, it's eaters of raw fish. Now, as somebody who lived in Japan for a while, how offensive to you is the idea of eating raw fish?
It's not offensive at all. I did it.
Exactly.
I did it today. I do it all the time.
Yes. And so anyway, while it would have made a lot of sense for the corporation to say, this is stupid, everybody can go piss up a rope, and we're going to keep doing this, because also you don't name things to shame them. You name them because you think that they're fearsome or brave or powerful, right? Toronto doesn't have a team called the Accountants. Right?
That's so offensive to accountants.
But
Accountants can be manly. What are you talking about? Accountants.
But you know what I'm saying, though, right? They're not like, let's just name it after something we think is silly. No, they're naming it after something that they think is remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the corporation, the right response would have been all of these things that I just said, but instead you've got it made up of individuals who say, look, I get the fact that what these idiots are saying doesn't make a lick of sense, but I've got a car payment and I got a mortgage and I got a family to feed, and I don't want to be the guy who loses his job because he's the one in this company who tried to stand up to them and it backfired. So I'm just going to go along with it. And the next guy beside him says the same thing, and so on and down the line. And you're all the way around the boardroom, and it's a unanimous vote.
That's the downfall of society right there. You just described it. It's everybody just, okay, I'll just do the appeasement thing. I got too much at stake here. This isn't my hill to die on. I'm just going to let it go.
Yep. And eventually you get to the point where no one wants to die on any hills, and a bunch of crazy blue-haired, hairy armpit weirdos are calling all the shots.
We need to end HR departments. We need to the war on HR. Just like get rid of HR departments. No organization should have them. It should be outlawed.
The greasiest people I have ever seen in companies have all been in HR.
They are greasy.
I completely agree with you. The problem is that from a corporate perspective, A, it looks nice. B, they can be in charge of the hiring and stuff. C, they're trained in how to fire people when that becomes necessary. And also,
grow some balls, fire people. Grow balls.
It's a skill that any manager should have, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing about it is that they've got this perception of being on the employee's side. And so you've got this sort of, you've got this double agent almost.
They're not, though. They're not on the employee side. And
They aren't. They absolutely are
but
not.
They're not on the side of the business either. Like this, they're almost.
They are on the side of the business. They totally are on the side of the business. They're not on the side of the business best interest in terms of hiring practices.
That's what I mean. Like at the end of the day, they'll ruin the business. They'll ruin the business because they get rid of all the good people in the business. And then the business is this husk, an empty husk of a business that used to, like, I don't know what, like drill oil wells, and now it's a bunch of like people that know gender theory.
No, I completely agree. I one time I got a soft offer for a job at a company that a guy I used to work with had gone over to, and I was like, oh wait, is that the same company that this guy who used to be the HR person at that same company went to? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, is that guy still there? Yeah. This company isn't going to be a fit for me.
That's fair. That's fair. Absolutely. I think so, I would pull this. I would pull that same plug. I would pull that same plug. There are people that I've worked with in the past that have been just so toxic in a work environment that if I saw that that person, that individual was working at a firm, I just know that that person's just going to ruin everything. No.
Well, there's that, and then also the implication of them continuing to have gainful employment at that organization. Because if that person can be successful, or at least successful enough to keep their job in that organization, despite the fact that they were an absolute disaster at the previous one, then there's something wrong with that organization.
Absolutely.
My take. Yeah.
We've been going for 2 hours now. Holy cow. I normally have a guest for an hour, and this is amazing. You filled the space so well. Holy cow, twos. It's amazing having you. And before we go too long and everybody drops off because it's just too late at night, I want people to know where they can find you and tune into your podcast. I want to encourage you to come over to YouTube, do some of the video content with your podcast. I'll be trying to make that happen. But in the meantime, where can people find you?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So My 222 Cents is the podcast. You can find it anywhere you get podcasts except for YouTube. And then Sean Newman of the Sean Newman Podcast and we do this weekly crossover show called the Tuesday Mashup. You can find it on either one of our platforms. And the YouTube channel is Tuesday Mashup. But if you go, actually, you know what? It would be great if you went and checked it out because you'd be one of the first people.
Absolutely. I put the link in the chat earlier. I think I have.
So that would be that. My main focus is Twitter, and also
the Twitter is here, and there's a link tree here for anybody who knows Twitter and how it works.
Yes, there is. Yeah, so you can find
the link trees here, and then you can then go to all the different places where you get your podcasts, whether you get your stuff on Apple or you get your stuff on Spotify, you can pick it up there. And you say you do a weekly podcast. It's every week.
Yeah. So every week, Sean and we cover the headlines and go over what's been happening in current events, Western Canada, the world. Anytime anything to do with a heist comes up, we always talk about it because I've got a thing for heists. And we have a lot of fun with pointing out how silly this planet has become. And then starting in April, so I'm going to be doing more of the solo episodes on my podcast, and then doing more, I don't know, stuff roughly like this, I guess. So I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be doing.
It's kind of went all over the place.
Trying to do, it did. It really did, eh?
It did. Normally it's a little more structured, so the audience, and I was reading the chat as it was going on, and everybody's like, wow, this is fun. This is really fun. Thanks for bringing your guests.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's really good to hear. And I've kind of been stumbling into a little bit of stand-up comedy, not on purpose. So you may happen to stumble across some event or something where I'm getting up and telling a few jokes, but that's just gonna be luck of the draw if you come across it.
Well, if it happens in the West Coast, I'm coming to it for sure.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome. So everybody go check it out. It's again, so everybody knows, it's 222 minutes. Award-winning podcaster. Go check out Twos and make sure you sign up for the podcast.
It's actually even on my business cards.
Awesome.
Right there. Award-winning podcaster, which I am, actually. So
yeah. What award is that?
the Bud Light. What was it? The Bud Light Rooster Slurper of the Month.
Oh, so you won an award, and you're also a podcaster.
Yeah, well, because we were talking about, and this is one of the last times we ever talked about Rachel Gilmore, was how she has award-winning journalist in her bio.
Yeah.
But it's this weird, obscure award that no one's ever heard of. And then there's a few other quote-unquote journalists on Twitter that always seem to talk about how they're award-winning journalists, but the award has no prestige. No one's ever heard of it, and it's completely pointless. And so we just said, well, let's just give each other awards so that we can say we're award-winning podcasters. And so I made one for Sean, and he made one for me, and now we're both award-winning podcasters.
That's hilarious. I need to get on that train. I need to make up some stupid award, or somebody can make up an award and present it to me, and then I'll become an award-winning podcaster as well, or award-winning YouTuber, or journalist, or whatever you want to call it.
Whatever it is.
Oh, too good. So stay on the line after we end this out, but I just want to say
definitely
good night to everyone. Thanks for sticking around. This was a exceptionally longer show than we usually do.
Yes. Sorry if I kept everybody up late.
No.
I hope it was worth it.
It was worth it. It was a lot of fun. I usually hang out after the show, but here we are hanging out in the show for even longer. Yeah, stay on the line. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight and tuning into the Friday Night Live stream.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Clyde.
Lots of fun, and we'll see you guys all again Monday morning. Even though it's a holiday, I'll still probably get a video out. Everybody, keep on trekking.